Chapter 583. You almost killed me and senior sister, and now you're telling me that this has nothing to do with you? Do you think that's possible? Chi Yu sneered. Chu Kuangren looked at the Crimson Serpent Princess without saying a word, but it was obvious that he shared the same opinion as Red Moon. The long sword at his waist made a clanging sound, and half of it was revealed. An extremely cold sword-based Daoist rhyme flowed out and shrouded the surroundings. Chu Kuangren, if you kill me, you'll be going against the entire Sky Serpent tribe. Think about it carefully. Is it really worth it? Crimson Serpent Queen gritted her teeth and said. Threaten? Interesting, I want to see exactly what the Heavenly Serpent clan can do to me after I kill you. Chu Kuangren said indifferently as his sword-based Daoist rhyme poured out. The Kunwo's sword was unsheathed, and the piercingly cold sword light had already whistled out, tearing the ground in front of it as it aimed at the Crimson Serpent Princess. Let's go. Beside her, Li Salong suddenly grabbed the Crimson Serpent Queen and crushed a jade slip in his hand. In an instant, the two of them turned into a stream of light. Their speed was so fast that even Chu Kuangren's spatial conveyor technique could not react in time. Oh, what kind of life-saving treasure is this? He looked at the two people who had escaped with some surprise. Then, he ignored them and turned to look at the red lotus miasma fire. Even 10 emperor-grade treasured herbs can't compare to a heavenly flame of this level. Chu Kuangren slowly extended his hand towards the red lotus miasma fire. At the side, the charmed sword guard reminded, Master, this deviant flame contains poison, please be careful. Yes, it's fine. Chu Kuangren nodded slightly. His hand had already reached into the red lotus miasma fire, and a large amount of the flames contained a type of poison that was rapidly corroding his body. Compared to the energy of the red lotus miasma fire, the poison was much weaker. Chu Kuangren had the body of a supreme sage, so his physique was even stronger than a ferocious beast's. Hence, the red lotus miasma fire's toxins had no effect on him at all. However, if one did not know how to deal with the violent energy of the mysterious flame, even a boundary emperor would be burned to ashes if they tried to forcefully absorb it. However, he possessed the heaven and earth cauldron physique, which allowed him to refine all kinds of energy in the world. And this red lotus miasma fire was within this category. With a single thought, an endless stream of heavenly flames instantly gushed into Chu Kuangren's body and was quickly refined by the universal cauldron physique, converting them into spiritual power. Seeing that Chu Kuangren was refining the mystical flame, the mystic sword guard took the initiative to stand aside and protect him. The others, including Lang Ningyu and Chi Yu, also set up barriers around them. A streak of light streaked across the sky and landed on a mountain peak. They were none other than Li Salong and the Crimson Serpent Princess who had escaped with the Emperor-grade escape talisman. After the two of them escaped, they still had lingering fear in their hearts. They stood where they were for a long time before they came back to their senses. Damn it! Damn it! After Li Salong roared with a gloomy face, he kept waving his palms and smashing everything around him. Rocks, plants, and so on, nothing was spared. The Crimson Serpent Queen's expression did not look any better. That was the red lotus miasma fire that she had been searching for a long time. Once she absorbed and refined it, her strength would definitely rise to another level. But now, one of her arms had been chopped off in her human form, let alone rising to a higher level. Chu Kuangren, I, the Crimson Serpent Queen, am not one to be taken advantage of. I'll remember this. She gritted her teeth and said. Then, she looked at Li Salong beside her and snorted. Have you vented enough? If you have, come and heal me. She had not fully recovered from her injuries, and Li Salong, who was a healer, could be of help. Humph, princess, you'd better be more polite with your words. I was the one who saved you just now. But it's all thanks to you that I ended up like this. If it weren't for your stupidity, not knowing that you were poisoned by the bug powder, at the mention of the bug powder, the Crimson Serpent Queen's expression changed. Idiot, hurry up and force the bug powder out of your body. The Snow Jade broodmother worm could locate each other. As long as the bug powder remained in Li Salong's body, he would not be able to shake off the Snow Jade broodmother worm. Upon hearing that, Li Salong panicked and immediately channeled his spiritual power. The bug powder was extremely difficult to detect in the body, but as the user of the snow jade brood mother worm and a healer, Li Salong naturally had a way to detect it. He took out a medicinal pill, consumed it, and channeled his spiritual power. Not long after, he spat out a mouthful of grayish-white blood, which was mixed with the bug powder that Chu Kuangren had injected into his body. "Let's go. We can't stay here any longer," the Crimson Serpent Queen said in a low voice. She then ran some distance away and arrived at a cave. She then set up a seal and breathed a sigh of relief. Then, Li Salong began to heal the Crimson Serpent Queen's injuries. At the same time, he was thinking about how to deal with Chu Kuangren. His Daoist core would not be stable if he did not take revenge. Chu Kuangren had taken away the person he loved and ruined his plans. In order to deal with Chu Kuangren, he was even willing to kill his own honorable teacher. It was impossible for him to stop now. That had become an obsession in his heart. Chu Kuangren, if I don't take revenge, I'll never be a human." The Crimson Serpent Queen had also noticed Li Salong's hatred towards Chu Kuangren. She sneered and said, "How are you going to take revenge on Chu Kuangren?" Li Salong was not even a forbidden sky pride, so it was too difficult to deal with him. "I can't, but that doesn't mean others can't. You're looking for other forbidden sky prides. Who do you think is a match for Chu Kuangren?" The Crimson Serpent Queen could not help but admit that Chu Kuangren was too strong. Even the forbidden sky prides were no match for that kind of power. One forbidden sky pride might not be a match for him, but what if many of them join forces? Besides, those forbidden sky prides must have had a lot of opportunities of fortune in the barren forbidden area and have grown a lot. If they join forces, they might be able to defeat Chu Kuangren. What do you plan to do? Let's look for Jian Daozi first. Like me, he used to be Lang Ningyu's suitor. If he finds out about Lang Ningyu and Chu Kuangren, he won't just sit back and watch. Li Salong said coldly. He was no stranger to Jian Daozi. In the past, among Lang Ningyu's suitors, Jian Daozi and he were the most influential. Hence, Chu Kuangren regarded Jian Daozi as his biggest rival in love. However, he did not expect that Chu Kuangren would beat him to it before they could even hold Lang Ningyu's hand. Li Salong was thinking about who else besides Jian Daozi could make use of. Wang Quan of the Wang family? Bai Hongyu of the Bai family? Jiao Yan of the nine-headed snakelet tribe? If all these were not enough, Li Salong fumbled with the yin and yang ring in his hand. There was something hidden in Li Salong's yin and yang ring, and that thing was related to a terrifying existence. Unless it was absolutely necessary, Chu Kuangren did not want to take the risk to look for that terrifying existence. Inside the swamp, Chu Kuangren was still absorbing and refining the red lotus miasma fire. The energy contained within the mysterious flame was so majestic that it was not any weaker than the earth vein origin essence that he had refined in the past. About a day later, the majestic earth vein origin essence was completely refined by him, turning it into a terrifying spiritual power that filled his spiritual mound. In his spiritual ruins, an incomparably rich spiritual power surrounded the 7 supreme foundations in his body like a vast ocean. Even a quasi-emperor would feel ashamed to see such a scale of spiritual power. Not only in terms of quantity, but also in terms of quality, no one could match up to it. This was also one of the sources of Chu Kuangren's tyrannical combat strength. Among those in the same realm, no one's spiritual power could compare to his. Chapter 584. Inside Chu Kuangren's spiritual mound, the 7 supreme foundation levels radiated with a divine light as vast spiritual power surrounded the foundation levels. However, at that moment, the overly pure and majestic spiritual power caused the supreme foundation levels to emit a dense golden mist. The 7 supreme foundation levels began to vibrate and slowly approached each other as if they were resonating with each other. Chu Kuangren's eyes lit up. Could this be? He stared at the changes in the supreme foundation levels. The golden mist that was emitted from the supreme foundation levels condensed into a golden spiritual power. That spiritual power was of a much higher quality than the other spiritual powers. Although it was just a single strand, it gave off a majestic aura as if it could collapse the heavens. Chu Kuangren took a deep breath as his eyes lit up. This is the Emperor's essence. The Emperor's essence was the spiritual power used by emperors. Chu Kuangren had condensed an emperor's essence that only emperors could. In the past, the primordial emperor's essence had appeared in the firmament star, but that emperor's essence and this emperor's essence were two different concepts. That emperor's essence contained a mysterious Daoist rhyme that was used to improve one's understanding of the Tao. It was equivalent to an external object. However, Chu Kuangren's emperor's essence was cultivated by himself, so he could fully control it and greatly increase his combat strength. The emperor's essence is far more terrifying than any cultivator's spiritual power. Although it's only one strand, it's not to be underestimated. It seems that the quality of my spiritual power has reached the limit of a boundary emperor. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to condense an emperor's essence that only emperors can. Chu Kuangren smiled in satisfaction. He had gained a lot from refining the red lotus miasma fire. After all, there were not many boundary emperors in the entire emperor's path who could condense an emperor's essence. Only the emperor realm cultivators could do so. As for the sky prides, even the forbidden sky prides, it was impossible without great opportunities of fortune. With just this emperor's essence, Chu Kuangren could crush most of the sky prides on the emperor's path. The resonance of the 7 supreme foundation levels gradually stopped, and the golden emperor's essence circulated within Chu Kuangren's body in a dazzling manner. After the golden emperor's essence circulated around his body once, it returned to his spiritual mound. Chu Kuangren felt that the emperor's essence seemed to have grown a little stronger. After refining all of the red lotus miasma fire, Chu Kuangren slowly got up. His black hair fluttered in the wind, his eyes were as deep as the stars, and a terrifying aura emanated from his body. This pressure was the pressure of the Emperor Dao. Beside him, the expressions of the charmed sword guards, Ling Ningyu, and the others changed. This pressure caused their bodies to instinctively tremble. So strong. Master has become stronger again. Isn't his strength improving a little too quickly? Red Moon could not help but click his tongue in wonder. Let's leave, Chu Kuangren said as he led Ling Ningyu and the others away from the swamp. Once they were out of the swamp, Chu Kuangren used his spiritual thought to scan the area within a radius of a few 100,000 kilometers. There were more treasures here than in the place they had stayed before. Obviously, this was the inner circle of the desolate forbidden area. There should be many opportunities in the inner circle of the forbidden area. Do you have any clues, fellow Daoist Ling? Chu Kuangren asked Ling Ningyu, who was beside him. The desolate forbidden area was an ancient existence in the Emperor's path. There were very few records of emperors in the firmament star, let alone an ancient place like this. However, it was different for an ancient orthodoxy's inheritor like Ling Ningyu. The ancient orthodoxy had a deep history, so her understanding of the desolate forbidden area must be much better than him. Therefore, she must know more than him. This was also one of the reasons why he brought her along. He needed someone who understood the situation to help him determine his next move. Some opportunities could not be found with the treasure locating skill alone. The 7 Emotions sect does have a lot of records about the desolate forbidden area. Among them, there are a few special great opportunities lands in the desolate forbidden area. Each time the forbidden area opens, all the sky prides will fight for it. For example, the ancient cave of treasures, the ancient Daoist lake, the 8 remoteness dragon mountain, and so on. Most of these great opportunities lands follow a certain pattern. According to my calculations, the ancient cave of treasures will open in a few days. Ling Ningyu pondered for a while and said. The more Chu Kuangren listened, the more amazed he was. Alright, then let's go to the ancient cave of treasures. Besides Chu Kuangren and his group, the other sky prides were also heading to the ancient cave of treasures. It was a great opportunities land that many sky prides did not want to miss. Inside a mountain range, a ray of red light suddenly shot into the sky, and a surge of surging energy instantly erupted, engulfing tens of thousands of kilometers. All living beings were pressed to the ground by this surge of energy, trembling in fear. That red light gradually revealed a silhouette. It was a woman dressed in bright red armor and holding a red longsword. It was Bai Hongyu from the Bai family. She sensed her own power in the air and smiled in satisfaction. The Emperor's body fragment is indeed not to be underestimated. It allowed me to directly break through to the boundary Emperor realm. I've long found my own Dao, and with this boundary Emperor realm and this sword, I can even fight a top-notch boundary Emperor. The ancient cave of treasures should be opening soon. It's time to go and see what kind of opportunities there are. Bai Hongyu murmured before she turned into a ray of red light and disappeared. Somewhere else. A dazzling 5-colored light suddenly erupted from a cave. A figure dressed in a brocade robe slowly walked out of the light. That figure was bathed in the 5-colored light and was surrounded by the 5 elements qi. It was as if a deity king had descended. My natural divine ability, the divine 5 elements wheel, has been upgraded. Not only that, but my cultivation has also improved greatly. Even if I were to face an Emperor Realm cultivator now, I won't be defeated so easily. Chu Kuangren, the next time we meet, I'll definitely surprise you. That person was Wang Quan from the Wang family. He looked into the distance and said, "It's time for me to explore the ancient cave of treasures and see how much I've improved." On a mountain peak. A young man opened his eyes abruptly, and a burst of sharp sword qi erupted from his eyes. The sword qi sliced through the surroundings, instantly tearing apart and destroying everything around him. I've completely refined the Sword Emperor's inheritance. I'm now very strong. Besides that, I've only refined 4 finger bones from the Sword Emperor's body. Even so, my cultivation has already reached the level of a top-notch boundary Emperor. Even if I've lost the 4 divine sword bestial, I've still gained a lot this time. Jian Daozi said excitedly. He took a deep breath and took out 2 swords. Both of them were Emperor weapons. They were the Gold Emperor Divine Sword of the Swordsman and the Emerald Divine Sword of the Azure Sword Emperor. With these 2 Emperor weapons, Chu Kuangren, let's see how you're going to fight me this time. Jian Daozi was in high spirits at that thought. He looked into the distance. I hope I'll meet you in the ancient cave of treasures. When that time comes, I'll let you know that I'm the one who stands at the peak of Sword Dao in this era. At that moment, a jade scroll at Jian Daozi's waist vibrated. Is that the swordsman's signal? Jian Daozi was slightly surprised. In a flash, he disappeared from where he was and headed towards the source of the signal. Not long after, he arrived at the source of the signal. There, he met a few people from the swordsmen and a familiar face. It's you, Li Salong. Jian Daozi glanced at Li Salong and then at the Crimson Serpent Princess beside him with a strange look in his eyes. Forbidden Sky Pride, Crimson Serpent Princess. Is something the 2 of you need from me? Jian Daozi said calmly as he looked at the Crimson Serpent Princess with a condescending look. Chapter 585. The Crimson Serpent Queen stared at Jian Daozi with a hint of fear in her eyes. She could sense an extremely powerful aura emanating from Jian Daozi, an aura that made her feel extremely threatened. The person before her was very powerful. It seems like Jian Daozi has encountered many opportunities of fortune in the barren forbidden area. The Crimson Serpent Queen smiled. Jian Daozi's expression was indifferent when he heard her words. Cut the crap. Tell me, why exactly are you looking for me? The Crimson Serpent Queen was a little angry, but she could only suppress her anger when she thought that Jian Daozi might be stronger than her. She took a deep breath and said, I'm looking for you because of Chu Kuangren. Chu Kuangren? Jian Daozi's eyes flashed coldly when he heard that name. You're looking for me because of him? What do you mean? Jian Daozi is very powerful, so let me ask you this. If you were to face Chu Kuangren, do you have the confidence to win? Li Salong asked. If I meet him again, I'll show him with my sword who's the strongest in Sword Dao. Oh, it seems like you're very confident. If that's the case, I have a very unfortunate news for you. Leng Ningyu is already with Chu Kuangren. Li Salong said. Say that again. Jian Daozi's expression darkened. Leng Ningyu is already with Chu Kuangren. Not only that, but they even have intimate relations. What? Jian Daozi's expression changed drastically when he heard that news. He was so furious that countless sword chi shot out from his body and swept across the area. In an instant, the ground around them was torn apart by the sword chi. Li Salong and the Crimson Serpent Queen were both under extreme pressure. They were extremely surprised that Jian Daozi had improved so much. At the same time, Li Salong was quite happy. To him, the stronger Jian Daozi was, the more confident he would be in dealing with Chu Kuangren. Chu Kuangren. Jian Daozi roared into the sky, his eyes red. Jian Daozi, please calm down. I too hate Chu Kuangren to the core. I'm here to cooperate with you to defeat him. Jian Daozi took a deep breath and calmed himself down. He knew that Li Salong, like him, was once Leng Ningyu's suitor, so he should hate Chu Kuangren just as much. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. Hence, Jian Daozi did not reject the offer. Alright, if that's the case, let's head to the ancient cave of myriad treasures together. Perhaps Chu Kuangren will head there. A fierce battle had broken out in a certain mountain forest. The two combatants were a silver-haired woman and a tiger-like ferocious beast with two heads. The two sides fought fiercely, and the surrounding mountains were shattered one after another. Roar! The two heads of the vicious beast roared, and a terrifying sound wave mixed with violent spiritual energy pushed the woman back. The silver-haired woman stood proudly in the air, wearing a gorgeous silver-white armor with runes flowing on it. It was incomparably mystical. The woman's silver hair fluttered in the wind, and her beautiful face had a rarely seen valiant expression. Her entire body exuded a sacred aura, making her seem like a valkyrie. Judgment of light. A large amount of light she gathered in the silver-haired woman's hand and turned into a white spear. With a yell, she threw it out. The spear moved like lightning and pierced into one of the ferocious beast's heads. Then, the spear exploded, and the terrifying light chi instantly blasted the head apart. Then, a large amount of white flames spread out and attached themselves to the ferocious beast's body, burning it. The white flames were extremely terrifying and difficult to extinguish. No matter how hard the ferocious beast struggled, it could not break free. All it could do was let out a series of painful howls. Not far away, a group of cultivators in white robes watched the scene with awe in their eyes. She's too strong. I can't believe the maiden sage has mastered the divine light flame technique to such a level in such a short time. Yeah, the supreme holy body is indeed the most suitable for this technique. The maiden sage must have been guided by the deity king for her to come to our sect. The cultivators whispered to each other. Among the crowd, there was a pair of eyes that looked at the gorgeous silver-white figure with complicated emotions. It was a young man. As he looked at the silver-white figure, his eyes were filled with cold jealousy and hatred, but it was also mixed with affection. It was a very contradictory feeling. At that moment, a hand landed on the young man's shoulder. It was an old man in the crowd. He said lightly, "Bear with it for a few more days. All of this will eventually belong to you, my lord sage." "I understand, elder." Boom! Another spear shot out. The two-headed ferocious beast could no longer resist the silver-haired woman and was completely killed. After doing all that, the woman came in front of the ferocious beast and dug out a crystal from its body. This was the ferocious beast's spirit crystal. It was something similar to a cultivator's golden core. Generally speaking, it was useless to human warriors. The spirit crystal of the ferocious beast contained too much spirit chi, so it was difficult for human cultivators to absorb it. But the woman grabbed the crystal and a white flame rose from her palm. After a while, the tyrannical aura on the spiritual power crystal gradually disappeared. The cultivation technique she practiced was special. It could actually purify the tyrannical chi on the surface, making it easier to absorb the spiritual power crystal. "Saintess, you have become even stronger." The group of white-robed cultivators walked up and an old man said with a smile. The silver-haired woman's expression was indifferent. She nodded slightly. Third Elder, are there any other opportunities in this barren forbidden land? Not far up ahead is a place called the Ancient Cave of Treasures. That place is a place of great fortune, and we can go there to fight for it. However, there will definitely be a large number of geniuses gathered there. At that time, it will be hard to avoid a fierce battle. This time, we came to the Forbidden Land to fight for opportunities. If we are afraid of a fierce battle, why did we come? You're right, Holy Maiden. Furthermore, with your current strength, even I might not be a match for you, let alone the other geniuses. This time around, Holy Maiden, you will definitely be able to come out on top. The young man walked up and said with a smile on his face. His words doubled the confidence of the other cultivators. The Lord Sage is a forbidden genius. Even he said so. It is obvious that the Saintess' strength is now. That's right. This time, the Saintess will definitely come first and let the world know how powerful the divine radiant cult is. The compliments from the crowd did not make the silver-haired woman happy at all. She looked into the distance and murmured, I wonder if the young master has come to this barren forbidden land. If he has, I wonder if we can meet him in the treasure ancient cave. The young holy son heard the silver-haired woman's murmur and frowned. This was not the first time he heard the words, young master, from her. But no matter how he asked, she refused to reveal anything. Who is that young master? Why are you so obsessed with him? The young holy son's eyes revealed a hint of jealousy. However, he hid it very well. In the next second, his face was once again plastered with a smile that made people feel like they were bathing in the spring breeze. Chapter 586. The Ancient Cave of Treasures was a place of great fortune within the barren forbidden grounds. Legend had it that the first batch of emperors was born where the barren forbidden grounds was formed. One of them was called the Emperor of Many Treasures. This ancient cave of treasures was where that person once lived. The Emperor of Many Treasures had once set up a restriction in this ancient cave, causing all sorts of treasures to appear every once in a while. Therefore, every time the barren forbidden grounds opened, the ancient cave of treasures would attract a large number of prodigies. On a huge stone wall that was tens of thousands of meters tall, there were many caves on it. These caves were connected to each other, as if they were some kind of formation. They gave off an extremely mysterious aura, and the inside of these ancient caves was filled with spiritual chi that was so dense that it was almost tangible. The spiritual energy formed a fog, making it difficult for others to see what was happening within the caves. However, one could faintly see the glow of treasures flickering within the caves. This place was the Ancient Cave of Treasures. There was more than one Ancient Cave of Treasures. All the caves on the stone wall were ancient caves of treasures. Outside the stone wall, many prodigies had already gathered. These prodigies were either scattered or gathered in groups of 2 or 3. They were all waiting for the treasures that were brewing within the ancient cave to appear. Looking at the time, the tide of treasures should be arriving soon. Yes, indeed. As long as the spiritual energy within the ancient cave of treasures reaches its peak, the treasures will appear. Tisk tsk, it's a pity that this ancient cave of treasures has a restriction and outsiders can't enter. Otherwise, I would definitely go in and take a look. That's true, whoosh, at this moment, a ray of red light flew over and turned into a woman in bright red armor. It was Bai Hongyu. Seeing this person, no one was surprised. An opportunity like the ancient cave of treasures was something that even the forbidden prodigies wouldn't want to miss. However, when the other prodigies saw Bai Hongyu, they couldn't help but retreat a little. When the treasures appeared, they wouldn't be able to compete with Bai Hongyu. Fortunately, this ancient cave of treasures was covered with stone walls, and this stone wall extended for dozens of miles. There were hundreds and thousands of ancient caves on it, so there was no need for them to focus on just one ancient cave and compete with these forbidden geniuses. Other than Bai Hongyu, the other forbidden prodigies also arrived. A 5-colored light flashed in the sky, and a person stepped on it. His aura was imposing, as if a divine king had descended, and his might shook everyone present. Oh, royal power. Bai Hongyu narrowed her eyes. Buzz buzz buzz. At this moment, the earth was shaking and the surrounding mountains were rumbling. A dark-skinned man with a horn on his head walked over with his head held high. With every step he took, the ground shook. It was the forbidden prodigy of the ox demon, Nyo Dali. The primordial ferocious beasts have also come. The forbidden prodigies appeared one after another, their auras extraordinary. At this moment, a sword light whizzed over, and the swords in the hands of all the swordsmen present could not help but tremble. It was as if they were respectfully welcoming the King of Swords. The strange phenomenon caused many swordsmen to narrow their eyes. Such a Tao of the sword. It's him. Jian Daozi of the sword folk. The sword light arrived at the scene and manifested in the air, transforming into a young man in a golden robe. It was Jian Daozi. The sword chi he exuded was extremely chilling, causing all the forbidden prodigies present to feel solemn. What a powerful sword chi! Could he have already reached the level of a peak great emperor? And this Tao of the sword is at least at the greater mastery stage. Looks like his fortuitous encounters are not shallow, to be able to reach this step. Bai Hongyu gripped the crimson dragon phoenix saber in her hand, her eyes filled with surprise. She had thought that her fortuitous encounters were already great, but she did not expect Jian Daozi's improvement to be even greater than hers. Boom! A monstrous murderous aura suddenly shot up into the sky from the mountain range. The murderous aura was like a flood, condensing into a giant black silhouette in the sky. Its battle roar echoed through the clouds and shook the mountains. Many cultivators were affected by the terrifying murderous aura and battle intent. They could not help but feel their spiritual energy surge uncontrollably. Damn, which taboo is this? This aura, could it be the rumored supreme Daoist physique, the infallible tormented physique? Who is it? Everyone looked toward the source of the murderous aura and saw a young man in a black robe slowly walking over. The murderous aura around him was so strong that it was not weaker than Jian Daozi's. Bai Hongyu was slightly surprised. Oh, the Sha clan's taboo, Sha Wuxia. The Sha clan was an ancient orthodoxy from the Nine Skies. And Sha Wuxia was like Bai Hongyu, a taboo genius from the Nine Skies. Looks like the competition in the treasure ancient cave will not be too boring. Jian Daozi said softly. He stood with his hands behind his back and looked at Sha Wuxia with a hint of battle intent. The way he saw it, among all the geniuses present, perhaps only Sha Wuxia was qualified to be his opponent. Apart from Sha Wuxia, another taboo genius appeared. It was Tu Heng from the demon race. This person's aura was also tyrannical, and it was obvious that he had encountered some fortuitous encounters. However, compared to Jian Daozi and Sha Wuxia, he was still slightly weaker. In the crowd, everyone looked at the gathering of the taboo geniuses and could not help but sigh. There are so many geniuses in this generation. I wonder who will be the next emperor. There are indeed unprecedented changes in this world. A pair of eyes stared at these people with a hint of eagerness in their eyes. It was a young man holding a sword. His eyes shone with yin and yang light. I wonder how much weaker I am compared to these taboo geniuses now. The sword-wielding young man murmured. He had an urge to find one of the taboo geniuses and fight it out. However, he knew that the current situation was not suitable for him to do so, so he suppressed this impulse. It's you, Nangong Huang. At that moment, a surprised voice suddenly rang out. Tuba, who was beside Tu Heng, had noticed Nangong Huang. Nangong Huang was also very surprised. He did not expect that person to recognize him. What's the matter, Tuba? Do you know that person? Tu Heng looked at Tuba and said. Tuba nodded slightly. He's from the Firmament Black Heaven sect. He's a sky pride from the Soaring Dragon leaderboard. Upon hearing that, everyone looked indifferent. They were not interested at all. He's just a sky pride from the outside world. There's nothing to pay attention to. Indeed, but the Black Heaven sect that he's from is a little special. Tuba smirked and said, the sect leader of the Black Heaven sect is Chu Kuangren. Swoosh swoosh swoosh, instantly, the taboo genius's gazes fell on Nangong Huang. He's Chu Kuangren's man. Humph, Chu Kuangren. What an annoying name. Jian Daozi, Wang Quan, Bai Hongyu, and the others immediately looked at him with hostility. They hated Chu Kuangren, so naturally, they did not have a good impression of the Black Heaven sect. The Black Heaven sect is not welcome here. You, scram immediately. Bai Hongyu said indifferently. Nangong Huang knew that something was wrong when he heard Tuba's words. He had some understanding of his sect leader's troublemaking methods. The ancient cave of treasures does not belong to you. You have no right to occupy it. The ancient sword at Nangong Huang's waist trembled slightly as he said. He was already eager to try out the taboo Skype rides, but he did not expect the opportunity to be presented to him so soon. Chapter 587. Qualifications? You want to talk to me about qualifications? Bai Hongyu smiled coldly. With a lift of her hand, boundless spiritual energy gushed out and formed a huge red seal in the void, smashing down on Nangong Huang. It was the Bai family's emperor technique, Heaven Worship Seal. The appearance of the Heaven Worship Seal caused the ground around Nangong Huang to cave in. Is this the combat strength of a forbidden prodigy? As expected, you can't be underestimated. Nangong Huang was solemn, but also excited. He unsheathed the long sword at his waist. Although it was only a pseudo-emperor weapon, it was a yin-yang attribute pseudo-emperor weapon, which was very compatible with his yin-yang god-eye physique. Yin-yang fire. Nangong Huang swung his sword, and a dazzling sword ray bloomed, turning into a sword ray burning with black and white flames. The sword light whistled out while extremely piercingly cold, and it slashed ferociously onto the Heaven Worship Seal. The void around them exploded. The Heaven Worship Seal and the sword ray exploded, and many prodigies were forced to retreat. Bai Hongyu's face instantly darkened. Nangong Huang actually blocked her attack. Looks like I've underestimated you. But even so, how many moves can you take? Bai Hongyu snorted and used the red dragon phoenix blade in her hand. It was an emperor weapon. Everyone couldn't help but be amazed at the sight. A forbidden prodigy had to use an emperor weapon to deal with an outsider prodigy. It seemed like Nangong Huang's strength was extraordinary. Even if he wasn't as strong as a forbidden prodigy, he was still above the top prodigies. Heaven Worship Blade Technique. Bai Hongyu snorted and swung her blade down. Boundless spiritual energy gathered and formed a red blade shadow. Wherever the blade's shadow passed, there was a scene of gods and demons kneeling and worshipping the heavens. The power of this attack was terrifying. Any prodigy below the level of a forbidden prodigy would definitely die if they tried to block it. However, Nangong Huang didn't retreat. Instead, he let out a long roar and took a step forward. The long sword in his hand trembled violently, and surging spiritual energy erupted. Yin-yang lightning, heaven destruction. The yin-yang divine light in Nangong Huang's eyes flowed continuously and was injected into the longsword in his hand. Black and white lightning intertwined, emitting a terrifying fluctuation. With a slash, the black and white lightning intertwined and turned into a domineering sword ray that met the blade's shadow. The saber light and the sword chi collided with each other, causing the surrounding mountain walls to shatter. Nangong Huang was sent flying hundreds of feet away by the huge impact. Blood flowed from the corner of his mouth while Bai Hongyu could not help but take a few steps back. Her charming face was filled with anger and her eyes were gloomy. She had used her emperor weapon, but she still could not defeat Nangong Huang. She could even sense that the surrounding geniuses were looking at her with a hint of amusement in their eyes, as if they were questioning her powers. Are you kidding me? You're a taboo. You can't even deal with a prodigy from the outside world? Why don't you leave the group yourself? Although no one said it explicitly, Bai Hongyu could tell from their eyes that this was what they were thinking. Damn it. Damn it. I'll finish you off with one more strike. Bai Hongyu flew into a rage out of humiliation. The monarch weapon in her hand shone with a resplendent red light, and the silhouette of a dragon and a phoenix circled around the blade of the saber. Bursts of dense emperor's might spread out. It was obvious that Bai Hongyu was going all out. She planned to finish off Nangong Huang with her next attack. Die. The saber light covered the sky as the power of the crimson dragon and phoenix saber erupted. The silhouette of a dragon and a phoenix charged towards Nangong Huang. At this critical moment, a scorching flaming sword light and a terrifying frosty aura exploded at the same time. They attacked the dragon and phoenix from both sides. With a loud explosion, the fiery aura and frosty aura spread out, burning and freezing everything in its path. A man and a woman suddenly appeared beside Nangong Huang. Wuxia Xianxia. Nangong Huang looked at the two of them in surprise. They were the Daoists of the Black Heavens sect, Wuxia and Xianxia. Yo, Nangong Huang, you look a little pathetic. Wuxia looked at Nangong Huang and smiled. That's a taboo prodigy. Why don't you try? Nangong Huang curled his lips. It seemed like he was still a distance away from becoming a taboo prodigy. Xianxia, who was beside him, rolled her eyes. You two are still bickering at a time like this. She took out a drop of green liquid and shot it into Nangong Huang's mouth with a flick of her finger. A huge burst of vitality instantly healed most of Nangong Huang's injuries. Even his spiritual power had recovered quite a bit. Fortunately, I still have some earth vein essences left in me. Xianxia said as she looked at the taboo prodigies in the air cautiously. The situation was not looking good. One taboo prodigy was enough to take them down, not to mention the few in front of them who were hostile towards them. Earth vein essences? What's your relationship with Chu Kuangren? Bai Hongyu asked coldly. Earth vein essences were so precious. Who would give it to someone who was not close to them? It's none of your business. It doesn't matter if you don't want to tell me. I didn't want to kill you guys, but since you've provoked me again and again, don't blame me for being merciless. The crimson dragon and phoenix saber in Bai Hongyu's hand shone brighter and brighter. You didn't look like you didn't want to kill us at all. Wuxia sneered. Kill. Bai Hongyu yelled. Without another word, she activated her surging spiritual power and unleashed another sword ray. Wuxia and the other two joined forces to fight back. The three of them had their own opportunities in the Emperor's path and had improved tremendously. With their combined forces, even Bai Hongyu could not take them down in a short time. This enraged her. After all, she had obtained an opportunity of fortune in the barren forbidden area, and her strength had far surpassed her previous self. Initially, she had planned to compete with Chu Kuangren. However, she could not even take down 3 of Chu Kuangren's disciples. With her current strength, how was she supposed to compete with him? The more she thought about it, the angrier she got, and her attacks became even more domineering. Powerful sword rays, accompanied by the horrifying scene of gods and demons kneeling, were constantly reflected in the void. Wuxia swung the long sword in his hand, and the scorching fiery sword rays almost burned the heavens and earth into ashes. His cultivation level had reached the boundary emperor level, and on top of that, he had cultivated a powerful emperor-grade technique. His spiritual power was so high that it was not much weaker than a top-tier boundary emperor's. Xianxia's combat strength was not weak either. After her encounter at the Celestial Mountain Lake, her Daoist physique had been upgraded to the Supreme Daoist physique level, and the chill that she could unleash was extremely terrifying. The chill was like a tidal wave, coming wave after wave. Even a top-tier boundary emperor would have to be extra careful when facing it. Nangong Huang's divine yin-yang light flowed and merged with the sword rays. The 3 of them joined forces to fight the forbidden beast. For a moment, it seemed like they were going to suppress Bai Hongyu. Everyone could clearly see that if Bai Hongyu did not have an emperor weapon in her hand, she would have already lost. What a disgrace to the forbidden beast. A cold snort was heard as Jian Daozi made his move. With a lift of his arm, 3 sword rays were unleashed, and in an instant, Nangong Huang and the other 2 were forced to retreat. Jian Daozi took a step forward and arrived before the three of them. Sword-based Daoist rhymes poured out from his body, and the domineering aura was so strong that it almost suffocated the three of them. Although they were both forbidden beasts, Jian Daozi's current strength was undoubtedly much stronger than Bai Hongyu's. 3 sword attacks. If you can survive 3 of my sword attacks, I'll let you leave this place. Jian Daozi said in a menacing tone. Oh, why don't you let me take on those 3 sword attacks? At that moment, a cold voice was heard. Along with it, a vast light chi surged in the sky. Chapter 588. Why don't you let me take on those 3 attacks instead? A cold and indifferent voice suddenly rang out. Suddenly, a large amount of white light shone from afar, and a surging light aura surged. The light aura was so majestic that it almost lit up half the sky. The demonic cultivator Tu Heng squinted at the white aura and felt a little annoyed. Their demonic chi was inclined towards darkness, so it was only natural that they were annoyed by this light aura. Besides the demonic cultivators, some of the black-robed cultivators in the crowd could not help but frown. This aura, it's that group of sanctimonious people. However, this voice is a little unfamiliar, and it's such a powerful light aura. Since when did the Radiant sect have someone like this? The black-robed cultivators looked at each other in confusion. Nangong Huang, Murong Xian, and Shang Qingxue seemed to have thought of something, and their eyes were filled with excitement. It's her. Within the vast white light, a silver-haired lady in a gorgeous silver-white armor slowly walked out. Wherever she went, a large amount of light aura intertwined and formed into blossoms of white divine fire that paved a path of light in all directions. The sacred lady's journey, paved with divine fire. The scene before them caused everyone present to be shocked. Many people could not help but look at the silver-white figure with infatuation in their eyes. Oh my God, she's so beautiful. So holy. Is this really a goddess that has descended into the mortal world? Who is this lady? Her aura is too extraordinary. The crowd discussed among themselves. Even the forbidden sky prides could not help but be moved. On the other hand, Murong Xian and the other 2 were excited. It really is Lan Yu. She's here, and she looks many times stronger than when she first entered the Emperor's path. What a powerful aura. As expected of Lan Yu. The newcomer was the new sacred lady of the Divine Radiant sect, a disciple of the Black Heaven sect, and the closest person to Chu Kuangren, Lan Yu. Behind Lan Yu, the Radiant sect's cultivators also appeared one by one. Their appearance caused the cultivators at the scene to start discussing among themselves. The Divine Radiant sect. It's the Divine Radiant sect. The Radiant God Church and the Dark God Church are the 2 great churches in the Emperor's Road. They have a long history and can be said to be one of the oldest ancient orthodoxies. This woman has such a large entourage. Look, even the forbidden prodigy, the Light Saint, is behind her. This woman's status in the God sect is unimaginable. Lan Yu appeared. Her stunning beauty and holy aura instantly became the focus of everyone's attention. Even Jian Daozi and Wang Quan, who were used to seeing all sorts of beauties, didn't have their eyes light up and reveal looks of amazement. Since when did the Radiant God cult have someone like you? It's fine during the day, but why don't you explain? Jian Daozi asked the Radiant Saint, Bai Tianqing, who was standing behind Lan Yu. Bai Tianqing smiled faintly and said, she is the new holy virgin of the Divine Radiant cult. The position of the Radiant Church's saintess has been vacant for many years. I didn't expect that you would actually find it. But, why do you want to interfere in this matter? Jian Daozi asked indifferently. Bai Tianqing also looked at Lan Yu in confusion. Lan Yu did not explain too much. She looked at Jian Daozi indifferently and said, if you want to hurt them, you'll have to get past me first. The Black Heaven sect was Chu Kuangren's sect, and it was her home. Nangong Huang, Murong Xian, and Shang Qingxue were like family to her. How could she sit back and watch Jian Daozi hurt them? Oh, it seems like you're determined to interfere in this matter. Jian Daozi raised an eyebrow. Lan Yu's temperament and appearance were indeed stunning to him, but he would not go easy on her just because of that. Make your move, Lan Yu said indifferently. Then let me witness the strength of the Radiant Church's saintess. Jian Daozi's body gradually emitted a cold and domineering sword chi that caused the surrounding swords to tremble. I've said it before. If they can block 3 of my sword attacks, I'll let them leave this place alive. Now, since you want to stand up, I'll let you block 3 of my sword attacks. Jian Daozi raised his hand and unleashed the first sword attack. The sword chi flew out like quicksilver and descended from the sky. Lan Yu stood where she was with a ball of white divine fire burning in the center of her palm. With a single palm attack, the divine light flame shook off the sword ray. When the 2 energies collided, the divine fire shattered and the sword ray disintegrated. The surrounding sky prides took a few steps back. Lan Yu, on the other hand, was as steady as a mountain. Is that all the exquisite 9 orifices sword heart has? Compared to my master, you're nothing. From what she said, it seemed like the master she mentioned also had the exquisite 9 orifices sword heart. Hearing this, everyone's eyes were filled with contemplation. Jian Daozi's eyes narrowed. The master you're talking about is Chu Kuangren. Not only him, but the Radiant Church's bachelor sage, Bai Tianqing's eyes also flashed. So that master is Chu Kuangren? Come, show me your second sword attack. Let me see how much of my master's strength you can achieve with your full strength. Lan Yu did not directly answer Jian Daozi's question. However, to the crowd, she had already admitted it. At that thought, the crowd could not help but be amazed. I can't believe the Radiant Church's saintess is so respectful to Chu Kuangren. TSK, what a surprise. TSK, Chu Kuangren's methods are really impressive. Indeed. Among the crowd, Li Salong was also there. He looked at Lan Yu with jealousy and hatred. F***ck, why are all these beauties related to Chu Kuangren? Leng Ningyu, the mystic sword guard, and now Lan Yu, all of them were stunning beauties, peerless sky prides, and each of them had a higher status than the last. Anyone who's related to Chu Kuangren is my enemy. Even the Radiant Church's saintess is no exception. Jian Daozi snorted coldly as his sword-based Daoist rhyme erupted. His spiritual power surged and formed an illusory sword shadow in the void. As the sword slashed down, it was accompanied by a violent storm. The void cracked like a mirror, and streaks of white patterns appeared. Tempest Sword. Lan Yu remained calm in the face of the Tempest Sword. The silver-white armor on her body shone brightly, and the holy radiant chi seeped out from her body. Divine Radiant Shield. The holy radiant chi erupted and formed a divine shield that burned with white flames. The Tempest Sword collided with the divine shield, causing a loud explosion that shook the surroundings. The shield shattered, and the Tempest Sword's remaining energy penetrated the shield and swept towards Lan Yu, forcing her to take a few steps back. You're quite strong indeed. Lan Yu patted the dust off her armor and said indifferently, you still have one last attack. You can't block the last attack. Be careful, the wind is too strong and you might bite your tongue. Humph. Jian Daozi's spiritual power surged as his 3 Daoist physique transformations erupted. This was the last attack. Jian Daozi's spiritual power erupted, and his sword-based Daoist rhyme and spiritual power were pushed to their limits, forming a 4-colored sword shadow that contained the 4 elements of earth, wind, water, and fire. Although he had lost his sword Yuan, his 4 divine sword Dao was still there. Even after refining the Azure Mystic Sword Emperor's inheritance, his understanding of the 4 divine sword Dao had reached a whole new level. As the sword slashed down, the sword shadow formed by the 4 divine energies was dazzling as it slashed towards Lan Yu. Spear of Judgment. Lan Yu's divine radiant flame turned into a divine spear that instantly shot out. A divine spear and a sword shadow collided. Both Lan Yu and Jian Daozi were forced back nearly 100 feet each. Chapter 589. So powerful. That attack just now is probably close to the level of a martial emperor. The surrounding sky prides were shocked to witness the clash between the divine spear and the sword's shadow. Even the forbidden sky prides felt exceptionally solemn. Originally, no sky prides could reach the level of a martial emperor. Those who did were all boundary emperors with deep foundations. However, with the emergence of the martial emperor realm, all sorts of opportunities emerged one after another. The sky prides improved by leaps and bounds. Some of the sky prides even had combat strength close to that of a martial emperor. I told you to be careful of your tongue, Lan Yu said calmly. She was unscathed after taking 3 attacks from Jian Daozi head-on. Without a doubt, her combat strength had reached the level of a forbidden sky pride. She was no weaker than a forbidden sky pride like Jian Daozi. I didn't use my full strength just now. After his 3 swords had been blocked, Jian Daozi felt like he had lost all face and snorted coldly. What he said wasn't entirely a lie. At least, he hadn't used his emperor weapon yet. 3 attacks have passed. You can say whatever you want. Lan Yu said coldly as her gaze swept across the crowd. Now, does anyone else want to hurt them? The crowd looked at each other. No one dared to answer. Lan Yu was too powerful. Even the forbidden sky prides were not willing to make an enemy out of her. Among the crowd, some of the black-robed cultivators looked at each other with shock and worry in their eyes. These people were cultivators from the Thuli Order. The Thuli Order was also the Divine Radiant Church's mortal enemy. They had been fighting each other for many years. The Divine Radiant Church's bachelor saint was already difficult enough to deal with. Now that they have a saintess, I'm afraid it will be even more difficult to deal with them. Yeah, the Thuli Order cannot be at a disadvantage. We must find the next saintess as soon as possible. The cultivators of the Thuli Order communicated with each other through their spiritual thoughts. At that moment, they sensed a dark aura sweeping towards them from afar. This aura, it's the bachelor saint. The cultivators of the Thuli Order looked into the distance excitedly. The saintess of the Divine Radiant Church. Interesting. I'm going to kill the people you want to protect. A powerful and domineering palm energy with boundless dark aura shot towards them. Its target was Nangong Huang, Murong Xian, and Shang Qingxue. How dare you! Lan Yu shouted coldly and appeared in front of the palm energy in a flash. A large amount of holy and radiant aura gushed out in an instant, and a palm blasted out. White flames that seemed to burn the world fell on the black palm energy. An earth-shattering explosion rang out. The aura of darkness and light constantly clashed, causing the void to explode. The violent airwaves came one after another. Amidst this terrifying aura, a black-haired, black-robed figure with a dark aura surging all over his body charged toward them. The Saint of the Darkness sect, Feng Mo. Both the Radiant God cult and the Dark God cult's Heaven's Pride warriors are here. They won't fight, will they? It's possible. One had to know that light and darkness were incompatible. This was something that almost everyone on the Emperor's Road knew. For the sake of faith, these 2 great sects had waged countless holy wars since ancient times. Feng Mo. Bai Tianqing's eyes narrowed. He was a little surprised. Your aura has become much stronger. This is my opportunity. I didn't expect that you would let a woman climb on top of you during the day. The Saint of Darkness, Feng Mo, glanced at Bai Tianqing and sneered. As soon as he said this, Bai Tianqing's expression darkened. His eyes flashed with coldness. If you want to fight, I'll accompany you to the end. I'm more interested in this saint now. Feng Mo ignored Bai Tianqing and looked at Lan Yu. Lan Yu also looked at him, but her eyes were extremely cold. Just now, this person had wanted to kill Shang Qingxue and the rest. Just this alone was enough to provoke Lan Yu's killing intent. Saint of Light, I said that if you want to protect these 3, then I will kill them. Feng Mo said, his eyes filled with mockery. He did not know the 3 of them at all, but just because Lan Yu wanted to protect them, he would kill them. In fact, this was the first time he met Lan Yu. However, darkness and light were destined to be incompatible. Therefore, they were destined to be enemies. You're courting death. Feng Mo's words triggered Lan Yu's killing intent. The anger of light exploded. A vast aura of light poured out from Lan Yu's body in an endless stream, forcing Feng Mo to retreat a few feet. So powerful, no wonder you can climb over Bai Tianqing's head. But, have you ever seen the despair of darkness? Feng Mo snorted, the dark aura on his body exploded as well, fighting against Lan Yu's light aura. Light and darkness, the most incompatible existences, exploded into an extreme conflict. The two forces collided, causing the ground to crack. One by one, the cultivators were forced back by the terrifying impact. Spear of Judgment. Lan Yu did not waste any time and immediately used his ultimate move. A large amount of divine light fire turned into a spear and was thrown out. The power of the spear was so strong that even Feng Mo could not help but be surprised. Blade of Despair. Feng Mo suddenly took out a black long sword. There were gorgeous gems embedded on it, but it was surging with an extremely pure dark aura. With one slash, the black sword ray wrapped with the power of darkness landed on the white divine spear. Bang! A loud explosion was heard, followed by an even more intense impact. Feng Mo and Lan Yu were both forced back. Dark Void Extermination. As Feng Mo retreated, an extremely powerful dark spiritual power erupted from his body and was continuously injected into the long sword. A surge of dark Daoist rhyme erupted and turned into a terrifying sword ray. Everywhere it passed, the void was shrouded in darkness, and everything was destroyed. Divine light illuminates the world. Before Lan Yu raised her hand, a large amount of light aura circulated in the void and gathered in the center of her palm. A ray of divine light, like the first ray of light from the primordial chaos, illuminated the world. The two forces of divine light and dark Daoist intertwined in the air and then exploded. It was as if the sun and moon had exploded, and the deafening explosion caused the clouds to rumble endlessly. Light and darkness alternated between the heavens and the earth. In the end, both divine light and darkness returned to nothingness. Sage, let me lend you a hand. Bai Tianqing said. As a bachelor sage of the Divine Radiant Church, he also had the responsibility to fight against the Dark God Church. As soon as he made his move, Jian Daozi also made his move. You want to bully me with numbers? You'll have to see if I agree to it. Jian Daozi did not have much of a relationship with the Dark God Church, but he did not mind helping him out here to take down Lan Yu's spirit. After all, Lan Yu was related to Chu Kuangren. The Myriad Treasures ancient cave does not welcome anyone who is related to Chu Kuangren. Bai Hongyu said as she stood on Feng Mo's side. Although I don't want to be enemies with the Divine Radiant Church, it's your fault for protecting Chu Kuangren's people. Wang Quan of the Wang family said as he looked at Lan Yu and the others indifferently. How can we demons miss out on attacking Chu Kuangren? Tu Heng of the demon tribe took a step forward as the demonic qi on his body surged. It was similar to Feng Mo's dark qi, but it was more sinister. The Dark God Church, the swordsmen, the Wang family, the Bai family, and the demonic tribe had joined forces to suppress Lan Yu. Bai Tianqing's brows furrowed slightly, and he wanted to retreat. Saintess, the situation is not good. Your young master has provoked too many people. Lan Yu turned a deaf ear to him and stood in front of the three without backing down. I'll say it again. If you want to hurt them, you'll have to get past me first. If that's the case, don't blame us for this. Jian Daozi sneered. Just when the forbidden sky prides were about to make their move. A gorgeous longsword wrapped in boundless sharpness swept over from the horizon, and without any deviation, it stabbed right in the middle of the two groups of people. A majestic sword qi erupted from the sword and swept across the area. The forbidden sky pride's expressions changed slightly as they retreated. How dare you hurt my black heaven sex people? A cold voice echoed in the void as if a deity was about to descend. Chapter 590. How bold of you to hurt my black heaven sex people, huh? The gorgeous ancient sword stabbed right in the middle of the two opposing parties. A cold voice rang out, and the surrounding air seemed to freeze. That voice was laced with an extremely cold murderous intent. As the clouds rumbled, a handsome figure with black hair and a white robe descended from the sky. It was none other than Chu Kuangren. Behind him were three beautiful women. They were Lang Mingyu, Red Moon, and the mystic sword sentinel. Jian Daozi's eyes almost popped out of their sockets when he saw that. His eyes were filled with hatred. The mystic sword sentinel was a peerless sky pride of the swordsman tribe. She used to adore him, and Lang Mingyu was the white moon in his heart. However, both of them were now by Chu Kuangren's side, especially the mystic sword sentinel. She seemed to be following Chu Kuangren's lead. That infuriated him to the extreme. In the crowd, Li Salong's eyes were filled with hatred as well. Chu Kuangren, these forbidden sky prides are no longer what they used to be. Let's see how you're going to fight them. Chu Kuangren stepped through the air and landed beside the descendant's self-sword. Nangong Huang, Murong Xian, and Shang Qingxue were all excited. Lan Yu was also stunned for a moment before she subconsciously stood behind Chu Kuangren, suppressing the excitement in her heart. Master, it's been a while. She glanced at the three women behind Chu Kuangren, trying to figure out their relationship with him. Yes, it's been a while. How have you been? I'm doing well. I just miss you. Of course, based on Lan Yu's reserved personality, she would never say what she wanted to say. I'll catch up with you after I take care of these little bugs. Chu Kuangren smiled. He was in a good mood to see Lan Yu again. Then, he turned to look at Jian Daozi and the others. The smile on his face had completely disappeared, replaced by an extremely cold expression. You guys have gotten bolder. His cold words caused the surrounding spiritual qi to change, and the temperature in the void plummeted, sending chills down everyone's spines. Chu Kuangren, our strength today is no longer what it used to be. Do you really think that you can still dominate everything? Bai Hongyu snorted coldly as the scarlet dragon phoenix blade in her hand exploded with a resplendent red blade light. As the saber slashed down, a shadow of the saber appeared out of thin air. In the void, the image of gods and demons kneeling to the heavens appeared, and the phantom images of a dragon and a phoenix rushed out. Bai Hongyu had unleashed the full power of the monarch technique and monarch weapon. Anyone below the martial emperor realm would have to be extremely careful when facing this attack. If it was the old Chu Kuangren, he would have to be more careful when facing this attack. However, these forbidden prodigies were not the only ones who had improved. Chu Kuangren's improvement had far exceeded everyone's expectations. Faced with Bai Hongyu's attack, he condensed his sword fingers and lightly drew a line in the air. A dazzling purple sword light whizzed out. The sword light first shattered the saber shadow, then the dragon and the phoenix, and finally struck Bai Hongyu's body. Even with the protection of the scarlet armor, Bai Hongyu still couldn't help vomiting a mouthful of blood. She was sent flying like a kite with its string cut. Her powerful aura instantly withered as she laid on the ground in disbelief. With just one sword light, she, who thought that she had improved a lot, was defeated. Defeated so quickly, and so, messed up. Is this what you mean by, the strong are brave? Woman, your stupidity has truly surprised me. Chu Kuangren glanced at Bai Hongyu and said indifferently. The other sky prides could not help but gulp as they watched in disbelief. No matter what, Bai Hongyu was still a forbidden prodigy. How could she be defeated with just one move? This kind of combat strength was a little too much for them to bear. His strength has indeed become more powerful. Wang Quan said with a serious expression. Even though he had improved a lot, he was not confident that he could take on that sword attack just now. One move. I only have one chance. If I can't defeat Chu Kuangren in one move, then I won't have another chance. Taking a deep breath, Wang Quan took a step forward and a dazzling five-colored brilliance burst out from his body. The brilliance constantly intertwined above his head and turned into a five-colored light wheel. An incomparably thick spiritual energy rippled out like a tide, wave after wave. Not only that, but he also took out an emperor weapon. It was a bell. a 5-colored great bell that was engraved with mountains and rivers. It was the Wang family's emperor weapon, the 5-elemental mountain river bell. Back then, the Wang family's mistress had used this bell against Chu Kuangren. Chu Kuangren, come and experience the power of my 5-elemental mountain river sect after my 5-elemental will has evolved. Wang Quan yelled. The 5-elemental will above his head glowed brightly, and the 5-elemental divine bell let out a series of bell chimes that shook the heavens. 5-elemental capturing technique. Wang Quan grabbed out with his hand, and 5 rays of light shot out from his 5 fingers. They intertwined in the void to form a giant 5-colored hand that covered the sky and grabbed at Chu Kuangren. A surging domineering aura enveloped the heavens, shaking the mountains and rivers. You've mastered the 5-elemental force quite well, but unfortunately, the 5-elemental force is still no match for my sword. Chu Kuangren's eyes narrowed, and the descendant self-sword that was stuck in the ground automatically unsheathed itself and hovered beside him. With a turn of the sword's edge, a cold sword ray shot out. The sword ray shot out like lightning, pierced through the clouds, and landed on the 5-elemental hand. In an instant, the 5-elemental hand was torn apart. The 5-elemental force shattered, and the sword ray was unstoppable as it locked onto Wang Quan. Wang Quan's expression changed drastically, and he hurriedly maneuvered the 5-elemental mountain river bell in front of him to block the incoming sword ray. The mountain river bell was sent flying and smashed onto Wang Quan's body, shattering the 5-elemental will above his head and shattering several of his bones before he was sent crashing into a mountain not far away. The mountain instantly exploded, and smoke and dust filled the air. Although everyone could sense that there was still a weak aura inside, they knew that Wang Quan had lost. Just like Bai Hongyu, he was utterly defeated. This bell is not bad. Chu Kuangren glanced at the 5-elemental mountain river bell that was sent flying, and he channeled his mind power to retrieve it. The mountain river bell still wanted to resist, but Chu Kuangren forcefully suppressed it with his spiritual power. I can't believe this person's strength is so strong. Tu Heng, who initially wanted to attack Chu Kuangren, was so afraid that he did not dare to attack when he saw the tragic state that Bai Hongyu and Wang Quan were in. He quietly retreated. The other sky prides at the scene also kept quiet out of fear. At that moment, a cold sword-based Daoist rhyme erupted, and the swords in everyone's hands instantly trembled. Chu Kuangren sensed this Daoist rhyme and looked at Jian Daozi. I think it's about time for you to make your move. Chu Kuangren, let the grudge between us end today. Grudge? Heh, in your eyes, it's a grudge, but to me, it's just a game. Chu Kuangren smiled indifferently. He had never taken Jian Daozi seriously. To him, Jian Daozi was just like an ant. Who would have a grudge against an ant? Chapter 591. Jian Daozi glared at Chu Kuangren, his eyes flashing with unforgettable hatred. The exquisite 9 orifices sword heart's 3 Daoist physique transformations erupted, causing the surrounding swords to tremble and let out sword cries. Oh, so you want to have a duel with me? Chu Kuangren chuckled. Sure, it's just a game anyway. The sword-based Daoist rhyme on his body also erupted. A surge of sword-based Daoist rhyme that was even colder than Jian Daozi's spread out and covered a radius of tens of thousands of kilometers. The duel between the 2 exquisite 9 orifices sword hearts was so powerful that it caused countless swordsmen to raise their swords and hover in the air. What a powerful sword Dao! Oh my god, a duel between 2 exquisite 9 orifices sword hearts. This battle will definitely go down in the annals of swordsmanship. It's just too terrifying. Yeah. Everyone was in awe. Meanwhile, Chu Kuangren and Jian Daozi stood dozens of feet apart. One of them looked calm and composed, while the other was filled with extreme hatred. The hatred in his eyes was so intense that it could burn his enemies into ashes. Chu Kuangren, today, I'll show you who stands at the peak of swordsmanship. 2 swords appeared in Jian Daozi's hands. One was the Golden Emperor sword, and the other was the Emerald Divine sword. When the 2 Emperor weapons appeared at the same time, they shone brightly, and waves of dense Emperor's aura spread out. Meanwhile, Jian Daozi's strength had reached the most terrifying level in his life. The surrounding swordsmen clicked their tongues in wonder. As expected of the exquisite 9 orifices sword heart, it can control 2 emperor weapons at the same time. With 2 emperor weapons, it's hard to imagine how terrifying Jian Daozi's strength is now. He can probably fight an emperor realm cultivator now. Jian Daozi is too strong. Jian Daozi's power shocked everyone. Bai Hongyu, Tu Heng, and Wang Quan, who had just walked out of the ruins, were also shocked. I can't believe Jian Daozi's strength has increased to this level. Perhaps he can really fight Chu Kuangren. The forbidden sky prides were filled with anticipation. They wanted Chu Kuangren to fail so badly. The other party had struck at their confidence time and time again. This kind of feeling almost caused their Dao hearts to collapse. Chu Kuangren, take out your emperor weapon. Jian Daozi shouted coldly. Chu Kuangren chuckled when he heard that. I've never used my emperor weapon against a sky pride of the same generation. That would be too much of a bully. Humph. How arrogant. Jian Daozi held an imperial weapon in each hand, which he slashed out with his right hand, causing the gold emperor immortal sword to emit a brilliant glow as a tempest of sword chi exploded out. With the support of the emperor weapon, the power of this sword chi was even stronger than when it was used against Lan Yu. Wherever the sword chi passed, the void cracked and the earth shook. Break. Chu Kuangren focused his sword fingers and the descendant self-sword circled around his body. With a gentle slash, that horrifying sword chi was instantly shattered. Seeing this, Jian Daozi slashed out with his sword again. Different from the storm sword, this sword was wrapped in scorching flames. However, that sword attack could not hurt Chu Kuangren in the slightest. 3 moves. Just as Jian Daozi was about to raise his hand to attack again, Chu Kuangren suddenly held up 3 fingers and said slowly, I'll give you 3 more chances. After that, if you can't pique my interest, this time, you shall die. Those words enraged Jian Daozi even more. He was so angry that his face turned pale, and the sword-based Daoist rhyme on his body continued to rise. Chu Kuangren, you shall pay for your arrogance. Surging Daoist rhymes flowed within the 2 swords, and with the injection of spiritual power, they transformed into a monstrous sword shadow that slashed out. Chu Kuangren did not move from his spot. With a horizontal slash, the heaven-slaying sword-drawing technique instantly shattered the sword shadow. You have 2 more sword attacks to please me. Chu Kuangren stood with his hands behind his back, the descendant self-sword hovering beside him. The surrounding sky prides could not help but shudder at that sight. It was too terrifying. With 2 emperor weapons in his hands, Jian Daozi's combat strength was unparalleled. Even so, he could not hurt Chu Kuangren at all. Not only that, but it was obvious that Chu Kuangren was not using his full strength. It was as if he was just toying with Jian Daozi. Just as he had said, all of this was just a game for him. Earth sword, wind sword, fire sword, and water sword. For divine formations, 1 sword, slash the heavens. With a long roar, Jian Daozi channeled the spiritual power around his body. At the same time, he unleashed his 4 divine sword Dao to its maximum. A 4-colored sword shadow suddenly shot into the sky. It was Jian Daozi's 4 divine sword Dao. Oh, your Dao has reached the peak of full mastery and is close to complete. It seems that the Azure Mystic Sword Emperor's inheritance has been very helpful to you. Chu Kuangren said. At that moment, the 4-colored sword shadow had already slashed down. Raging winds swept, flames burned, water surged, and the ground trembled. The 4 divine sword Dao, reinforced by the emperor weapons, blasted towards Chu Kuangren. Break. The descendant self-sword landed in Chu Kuangren's hand. With a yell, a sword chi shot out. The sword chi contained Chu Kuangren's spiritual power that was almost at the peak of the boundary emperor realm. Its terrifying power was self-evident. Accompanied by a shocking explosion, the 4 divine sword shadows suddenly exploded. Jian Daozi was blasted back nearly 100 meters. Jian Daozi looked at Chu Kuangren. He was initially full of confidence, but now he felt a deep sense of helplessness. You still have one last chance, Chu Kuangren said. Chu Kuangren, you've forced my hand. Jian Daozi took a deep breath, and a determined look appeared in his eyes. With a terrifying glint in his eyes, he took out a finger bone. It was an emperor's finger bone. He crushed the finger bone, and an extremely majestic spiritual power instantly surged into his body, causing his aura to rise. The emperor's finger bone was brewing the power of an emperor. Jian Daozi had only refined the power of the Azure Mystic Sword Emperor's 4 finger bones, and he had already risen to his current cultivation level. Now, he took out a finger bone, not to refine it, but to temporarily increase his spiritual power. Although it was only temporary, it was still a powerful killing move. Slash. Jian Daozi increased his strength once again. He activated the 4 divine sword Dao, and an even more terrifying sword shadow erupted. However, he immediately turned around and fled. He did not even care if that sword attack could hurt Chu Kuangren. He knew that he was no match for Chu Kuangren even if he used the finger bone. Forcefully channeling the power of an emperor's finger bone without refining it was already the limit of his physical body. You're trying to escape again. Too bad, you won't get the chance this time, Chu Kuangren said. He was tired of playing this game with Jian Daozi. With a lift of his arm, a surge of the 4 divine power, similar to Jian Daozi's, erupted. However, this surge of 4 divine power was much stronger than Jian Daozi's. They were not on the same level at all. The 4 divine sword primal power. That's the 4 divine sword primal power. Jian Daozi was shocked when he sensed the aura behind him. The 4 divine sword primal power was supposed to belong to him. The 4 divine sword primal power intertwined in the void and condensed into a 1,000-meter-long 4-colored sword shadow. It contained a surge of 4 divine power that could shatter the heavens and earth, and it slashed out. It was the supreme divine ability, the 4 divine primordial sword. Chapter 592. The 4 Guardians' primordial divine sword was unleashed. The sword shadow that Jian Daozi had unleashed was nothing in the face of this divine ability. The moment the 2 attacks collided, the sword shadow shattered. The 4 Guardians' primordial divine sword targeted Jian Daozi. The power of the 4 Guardians intertwined in the void and formed a 4 Guardians cage that sealed off the heavens and earth. No! Jian Daozi roared with fear in his eyes. No matter how much he channeled his spiritual power or tried to defend himself, he could not stop the tremendous force. The 4 Guardians' primordial divine sword had blasted Jian Daozi into pieces. However, the sword chi did not stop there. It blasted into the clouds and exploded. The terrifying power of the 4 Guardians swept across thousands of miles of the clouds in a dazzling display of colors. Daozi. The swordsman tribe cultivators in the crowd could not help but stare at Chu Kuangren in anger and fear. The other forbidden sky prides were even more fearful. This person's combat strength is too terrifying. Among all the sky prides, I think only Qin Tianchen, who is known as the reincarnation of a great emperor, stands a chance against him. A clang was heard. 2 emperor weapons fell and stabbed into the ground. They were the Gold Emperor Divine Sword, the Emerald Divine Sword that Jian Daozi dropped after his death. The surrounding sky pride stared at the emperor weapons with burning eyes. After all, those were emperor weapons. Even among the forbidden sky prides, there were only a few who owned emperor weapons. However, despite their burning eyes, no one dared to have any malicious intent. With Chu Kuangren around, no one dared to act rashly. With a thought, the 2 emperor weapons automatically floated before Chu Kuangren. He merely glanced at them before he tossed them to Murong Xian and Nangong Huang. They're yours now. Refine them well. Among the 4 of them, only Nangong Huang and Murong Xian were comfortable with swords. That was why Chu Kuangren gave them the emperor weapons. As for him, 1 or 2 emperor weapons were no longer of much use to him. Gulp, The crowd could not help but gulp when they saw Chu Kuangren casually giving away the emperor weapons. That was an emperor weapon. He gave it away just like that. Just how rich is Chu Kuangren? As for Nangong Huang, who had obtained the emperor weapon, Murong Xian was also a little excited. Thank you, sect leader. They understood Chu Kuangren's personality very well. Since he had already said that he would give it to them, then he would give it to them. Hence, they did not reject him. Who should I look for next? Chu Kuangren then kept Jian Daozi's yin and yang ring. He then swept his gaze across the remaining sky prides as if he was choosing his next prey. Anyone who was stared at by him couldn't help but retreat, and they didn't dare meet his gaze. All of them lowered their heads as they were deeply afraid of being stared at. For a moment, wherever he looked, all of them bowed their heads and retreated. One man, one sword, pressured the elites of the world to the point where they couldn't even lift their heads. At this moment, the walls of the myriad treasures' ancient cave began to tremble, and waves of surging spiritual energy rippled out. This commotion, the treasures of the treasure ancient cave are about to appear. The opportunity is coming. The crowd of prodigies was attracted by the ancient cave. Chu Kuangren's attention was also momentarily attracted. The ancient cavern has opened. Let's take a look inside and see what's so special about it. Chu Kuangren said indifferently. Then, streaks of light suddenly flew out from the ancient cave. The flowing light actually carried numerous treasures within it. They were either supreme elixirs, weapons, or rare ores. The sight of hundreds and thousands of ancient caverns spewing out treasures at the same time was too spectacular. Chu Kuangren could not help but be slightly surprised when he saw it. This ancient cave of treasures really lives up to its name of having many treasures. Chu Kuangren scanned the area with his spiritual thought. Even the lowest grade of the treasures that were spewing out from the ancient caverns were top-tier sage-grade treasures. Most of them were boundary emperors, and there were quite a few emperor-grade treasures as well. That's the prime dragon supreme elixir. By the heavens, there's even a star herb. Quick, hurry up. One by one, the sky prides quickly made their moves to fight for the treasures. There were hundreds and thousands of these ancient caverns, and the treasures that were spewing out were all different. Many of the sky prides locked onto their own targets and stepped forward to fight for the treasures. Even the forbidden sky prides were no exception. For example, the darkness bachelor sage, Feng Mo, had his eyes on a black crystal that contained an extremely powerful darkness-based Daoist rhyme, which would be very beneficial to him. However, just as everyone was about to snatch the treasures, a sudden spatial fluctuation appeared. The treasures that were wrapped in the streaks of light disappeared one by one. What's going on? Feng Mo looked at the empty void in front of him and could not help but be shocked. The other sky prides looked at each other in confusion. What's going on? What's going on? Where are the treasures? Where did they go? Look, the treasures are right there. At that moment, someone suddenly exclaimed. The treasures that were spewing out from the ancient cave of treasures were all floating in front of Chu Kuangren. Chu Kuangren, he's the one who did this. How did he do it? Is he trying to monopolize all of these treasures? Everyone looked at Chu Kuangren in bewilderment. Chu Kuangren, on the other hand, had a faint smile on his face as he looked at the treasures. I want all of these treasures. Chu Kuangren had used his mind power and spatial conveyor skill to transfer all of these treasures to him. Everyone was dumbfounded when they heard him. This was especially true for the cultivators who had explored the Thousand Wonders cave before. The last time, Chu Kuangren had taken all the treasures from the earth vein in the Thousand Wonders cave. This time, he wanted to do the same thing and monopolize the ancient cave of treasures. How could there be such an arrogant and domineering person in this world? Chu Kuangren, aren't you afraid of being condemned by the people of this world by doing this? Tu Heng said loudly. The others were also enraged. They had missed out on the earth vein essence last time. This time, Chu Kuangren wanted to take the opportunity of fortune from the ancient cave of treasures as well. How could they tolerate that? Condemned by the people of this world? Heh, the people of this world only remember that the winner takes all. If you're not happy about it, come and take it. Chu Kuangren hooked his finger at the crowd. Seeing him like that, the crowd was so angry that they gritted their teeth, but there was nothing they could do. Chu Kuangren was too powerful. He was so powerful that they could not resist, so powerful that they felt despair. Brother Chu, you're too arrogant. But I like it. Beside him, Red Moon gulped. However, when he saw the helpless looks on the Sky Pride's faces, he was filled with admiration. Chu Kuangren was probably the only person who could make the Sky Prides clench their teeth in hatred but could not do anything about it. Brother Chu, don't you think it's a little inappropriate for you to do this? Bai Tianxing, the Radiant Sex Bachelor Sage, said. Chu Kuangren glanced at him and said, treasures belong to those who are capable. What's inappropriate about that? Besides, who are you? I'm the Radiant Sex Bachelor Sage, a fellow disciple of the Maiden Sage. Oh. Chu Kuangren activated his Eye of Revelation and scanned Bai Tianxing before looking at Lan Yu. He noticed that Lan Yu now had the title of Radiant Sex Maiden Sage. However, when he was looking into her information, he noticed something strange and frowned. However, he temporarily suppressed that strange feeling and did not study it immediately. At that moment, the ancient cave of treasures moved again. The second round of treasures erupted. Chapter 593. The ancient cave of treasures released a second round of treasures, and a large number of treasures gushed out one after another. It was still a spectacular sight. The surrounding Sky Prides gritted their teeth and dashed forward at an even faster speed. They had to be quick, or else they would not get their turn. However, no matter how fast they were, they could not match Chu Kuangren's spatial conveyor skill. A burst of invisible spatial fluctuations appeared, and the treasures immediately disappeared from where they stood. Just like before, they all went in front of Chu Kuangren. This caused the cultivators to explode on the spot. F***ck me. How are we supposed to compete now? His ability is too overpowered. We can't compete with him at all. Everyone looked at Chu Kuangren with their eyes wide open. They could not wait to skin him alive. Chu Kuangren's method of robbing others of their wealth was too hateful. However, he did not seem to notice it at all. He stared at the treasures in front of him and kept them into his yin and yang ring. At that moment, a surge of spiritual power suddenly came from afar. The surge was very strong, and it was mixed with a domineering intent. It was as if an emperor had arrived. Chu Kuangren's interest was piqued. He looked at the mountains in the distance and squinted his eyes. This aura, could it be him? Bai Hongyu was bewildered as well. Is this aura his? But how did he suddenly become so strong? Rumble, the ground shook, and waves of surging spiritual power spread outwards, shaking everything within a 10,000-kilometer radius. Then, a golden ray of light suddenly shot into the sky from the mountains. It pierced through the clouds and dyed the sky gold. Ha ha ha, the heavenly honorable has descended and destroyed everything. His arrogant words echoed in the sky. Amidst the golden light, a domineering figure slowly walked out. That person was wearing a golden robe, and there was a mysterious Daoist rhyme circulating around him. Every move he made was filled with unparalleled dominance. It was as if a heavenly honorable had descended upon the world. Chu Kuangren had a playful look on his face when he saw that person. Bai Hongyu was in disbelief when she saw that person. It's really him, Xiao Jingchen. I can't believe his transformation. Xiao Jingchen was a 9-heaven Sky Pride. He was also the owner of the heavenly golden imperial body. Logically speaking, this heavenly golden imperial body was stronger than the exquisite 9 orifices sword heart. Xiao Jingchen's aptitude was so high that he was no weaker than any of the forbidden Sky Prides. However, he had always been suppressed by the taboo. But now, after entering the barren forbidden land, he had obtained the inheritance of a great emperor who also possessed the heavenly golden imperial body. His cultivation level had greatly increased, and he could fully unleash the power of the heavenly golden imperial body. It was not an exaggeration to say that he had reached the heavens in a single bound. What a strong aura. This is the heavenly yellow imperial physique. I didn't expect this person to improve so much. How surprising. Isn't this the Bai family's son-in-law? It is said that although his talent is not bad, he has always been inferior to Bai Hongyu. However, from the looks of his aura, he is much stronger than Bai Hongyu. The barren Forbidden Land is indeed a land of great opportunities. Xiao Jingchen, who was originally just a top-notch sky pride, has actually soared to the sky. Everyone was discussing and looking at Xiao Jingchen in amazement. On top of being shocked, Bai Hongyu also felt an indescribable sense of defeat. It was bad enough that she had lost to Chu Kuangren, but now even a son-in-law from her family was trying to climb above her. This feeling was just too depressing. After exiting his closed-door meditation, Xiao Jingchen scanned the surroundings and soon locked onto the ancient cave of treasures. Oh, treasures and Sky Pride's aura. Just nice. I was just looking for someone to test out my gains from this closed-door meditation. He took a step forward and instantly traversed thousands of miles. In just a few steps, he arrived above the ancient cave of treasures. He scanned the crowd with disdain. Then, he immediately locked onto Chu Kuangren. It could not be helped. Chu Kuangren was too eye-catching now. With so many treasures surrounding him, anyone would notice him at first glance. Not to mention that Xiao Jingchen had a grudge against Chu Kuangren. Back in the firmament star, I was no match for you. That was why I allowed you to destroy the heavenly golden palace. Now, I shall avenge them. Chu Kuangren, are you ready? Xiao Jingchen said indifferently. The aura on his body was so majestic that it caught everyone's attention. At the same time, their eyes lit up. Xiao Jingchen seemed to be stronger than Jian Daozi. If he were to make a move, he might be able to stop Chu Kuangren. Many people think that they can fight against me after obtaining the opportunity of fortune. Unfortunately, the grass on their graves is already 3 feet tall. Chu Kuangren said indifferently. Humph, try me then. Without another word, Xiao Jingchen immediately attacked. Heavenly Honorable Palm. His surging spiritual power transformed into a giant golden hand that covered the sky. Along with a spiritual power storm, it grabbed at Chu Kuangren. Let me experience the power of the Heavenly Honorable Physique. Chu Kuangren said. With a slash of his sword, a purple sword ray exploded and shattered the giant golden hand. The 2 surges of energy caused a storm to spread. However, Xiao Jingchen remained calm. He raised his hand and activated another powerful technique. Heavenly Honorable Finger. With a point of his finger, the heavenly golden spiritual power surged and turned into a giant finger that pierced through the void towards Chu Kuangren. Not far away, a few sky prides from the Forbidden Zone looked at Chu Kuangren and Xiao Jingchen's intense battle. They looked at each other with an inexplicable expression. Among them, Feng Yimou was the first to speak. Guys, if we don't take care of this person, we won't be able to get our hands on the treasures here with him around. I plan to attack him. What about the rest of you? If that's the case, then let's do it. Tu Heng from the demon tribe said coldly. Chu Kuangren's strength was so strong that it was above all of them. However, the treasures were too tempting. They could not just watch as Chu Kuangren took all the good stuff away. They did not want to be suppressed by him all the time. Now that Xiao Jingchen had joined the fray, they saw a glimmer of hope in suppressing Chu Kuangren. I also want to see how many trump cards he has yet to reveal. Niu Dali from the demonic ox bloodline seemed excited. He did not harbor much hostility towards Chu Kuangren. However, he just wanted to fight him. Of course, it would be better if he could stop Chu Kuangren's momentum. Just as well. The ferocious tribesmen have a score to settle with this person too. Sha Wuxia from the ferocious tribesmen said. As soon as he spoke, everyone felt more confident. Sha Wuxia from the ferocious tribesmen was definitely an extremely powerful Forbidden Zone sky pride. He was even more powerful than Jian Daozi. Let's do it then. Feng Yimou said loudly. His figure turned into a stream of black light, and the despair blade in his hand radiated a black light. A pitch-black blade ray that contained a terrifying dark energy slashed towards Chu Kuangren from behind. Don't even think about it. Lan Yu snorted and attacked as well. Her white spear pierced through the void and shattered the blade ray. Get out of my way. Feng Imo roared and swung his despair blade again. Tu Heng followed up with a punch as well. The two Forbidden Zone Sky Prides joined forces and instantly forced Lan Yu to retreat hundreds of meters. Lan Yu, you guys go and fight for the treasures first. Let me handle these few. At that moment, Chu Kuangren's voice rang in Lan Yu's ears. She pondered for a while before she nodded. All right. Chu Kuangren stood in the air and looked at them. How many Forbidden Zone Sky Prides do you guys think will fall today? Chapter 594. How many forbidden cultivators do you think will fall today? Chu Kuangren said calmly, his voice as cold as ice. A cold gust of wind blew between the heavens and the earth. Xiao Jingshan took a step forward and unleashed his heavenly golden imperial physique's domineering aura towards Chu Kuangren. You're the only one who will fall today. As soon as he said that, the heavenly golden spiritual power gushed out from his body again and formed into a gigantic human figure in the void. It was the heavenly golden imperial physique's Daoist transformation, the divine Lord Avatar. Chu Kuangren, you should know that being too rigid is easy to break. You're too presumptuous. Tu Heng leaped into the air. In the sky, demonic chi gathered and formed into a gigantic purple eye. A terrifying demonic light was brewing within it. Eye of Oblivion. As he yelled, the demonic light poured out like a purple torrent towards Chu Kuangren. O God of Darkness! Feng Imo, the bachelor sage of darkness, had also made his move. He let out a low chant with a sincere look on his face. Then, the aura on his body increased significantly. That was the Divine Darkness Religion and Divine Radiant Religion's unique faith cultivation technique, which allowed one to borrow power from the gods. Dark Void Destruction. After Feng Imo finished his prayer, his strength increased, and he unleashed a blade ray of extreme darkness towards Chu Kuangren. What can a god do to me? Chu Kuangren yelled. Four-colored light circulated as the power of the four mystical beasts erupted once again. Divine ability, primordial sword of four mystical beasts. Under Chu Kuangren's control, the sword of four mystical beasts slashed across the sky, shattering the demonic light and the blade ray. The sword chi's residual force caused Feng Imo and Tu Heng to spit out blood and retreat hundreds of meters. So powerful. Tu Heng and Feng Mo's expressions changed slightly. They had seen Jian Daozi and Chu Kuangren fight before, but that was just a bystander. Only when they faced Chu Kuangren personally did they realize how terrifying Chu Kuangren's combat strength was. Wait, where is he? Just when Xiao Jingshan, Sha Wuxia, and Niu Dali were about to replace Tu Heng and Feng Imo in attacking Chu Kuangren, they realized that he had disappeared. They quickly used their spiritual thoughts to search for Chu Kuangren. Oh no! Everyone's expression changed. This was especially true for Tu Heng. He suddenly felt a chill run down his spine. The fear that seemed to have materialized turned into a chill that instantly invaded his entire body. He subconsciously turned around and struck out with his palm. Unbeknownst to him, Chu Kuangren was already behind him. Facing the incoming palm attack, Chu Kuangren lifted his hand and slashed out with his sword. Sword light shot out, shattering the palm energy and devil chi. Then, it slashed across Tu Heng's body. The armor on Tu Heng's body was like paper, unable to withstand the sharpness of the Kunwa's sword. Amidst the splattering of blood, Tu Heng was torn apart by the sword. A taboo had fallen. The first one. Chu Kuangren's indifferent voice rang out. Immediately after, his figure disappeared from where he was like a ghost. In the next instant, he appeared beside the Holy Son of Darkness, Feng Imo II. The cold voice sounded like the voice of the Grim Reaper, accompanied by the dazzling sword light. Saint Son of Darkness Feng Mo only felt a chill on his neck. Then, he felt the world spinning around him, and he actually saw a headless corpse. That was his corpse. His head was cut off by a sword. How could this be? Feng Mo was horrified. Before his decapitated head could even finish a sentence, all signs of life had disappeared. Another taboo had fallen. Quick, let's seal the space together. Sha Wuxia roared as a black avatar formed behind him. It was the avatar of the infallible tormented physique. The divine ferocious avatar roared with battle intent as it resonated with the heavenly golden imperial avatar. The two avatars clashed violently in the void, causing the surrounding void to tremble violently, interfering with Chu Kuangren's spatial conveyor technique. Beside them, Niu Dali let out a roar and transformed into his true form, a black demonic bull. With an angry roar, the demonic bull charged towards Chu Kuangren. Scram! Chu Kuangren yelled as the spiritual power within his body surged. A black fist that was burning with monstrous flames of anger was unleashed. It was the Emperor technique, Raging God's Fist. The demonic bull was sent flying by the Emperor technique. An ancient wild beast could not even withstand a single punch from Chu Kuangren. Heavenly golden imperial physique. At that moment, Xiao Jingchen, who had pushed the heavenly golden imperial physique to its limit, let out a roar and grabbed at Chu Kuangren. Beside him, Sha Wuxia was not to be outdone either. The divine ferocious avatar surged with ferocious chi and formed a giant black axe in its hand. With a swing of the axe, the void cracked like a mirror. Avatar, huh? I also know how to do this. Chu Kuangren said calmly as an incredibly dense divine ferocious Daoist rhyme circulated in the void, forming another divine ferocious avatar just like Sha Wuxia. However, Chu Kuangren's avatar was more solid. With just a roar, the mountains and rivers within thousands of miles were shaken. The divine ferocious avatar threw out a punch that collided with the heavenly golden imperial palm while its other hand grabbed the giant axe. When the three avatars collided, the entire ancient cave of treasures stone tablet trembled as treasures were spat out one after another. The other sky prides took this opportunity to fight for the treasures while Lan Yu led Nangong Huang and the others to join in. The Daoist is dead, but we can't go back empty-handed. We must bring something back with us. One of the sky prides from the swordsman tribe said as he dashed forward. However, he was soon sent flying by Lan Yu's palm. The treasures that he wanted were also taken away by Lan Yu. D*Amenit. D*Amenit. That sky pride from the swordsman tribe was hopping mad, but there was nothing he could do. Then, he saw the mystic sword guard. She was also fighting for the treasures. She was very strong, and with her fallen darkness physique activated, no one below the forbidden realm could rival her. Humph, that traitor. The sky pride from the swordsman tribe was filled with hatred, but there was nothing he could do. Not far away, the Dark God Society cultivators who were still immersed in the sadness of the bachelor sage's death noticed the mystic sword guard as well. This aura, it's the fallen darkness physique. The fallen darkness physique that we've been searching for so many years appeared right after the bachelor sage's death. Could this be fate? The Dark God Society cultivators looked at each other. Meanwhile, Chu Kuangren's battle with Sha Unpardonable and Xiao Jingchen was nearing its end. The three divine Daos were like three giants. The shockwaves from their battle spread out for tens of thousands of miles, causing the ground to crack and the void to explode. The shockwaves from their fists were like natural disasters that destroyed everything around them. Transcendent coalescence, exquisite nine orifices sword heart. At that moment, Chu Kuangren's other two Daoist physiques also erupted at the same time. The transcendent coalescence's power and the exquisite nine orifices sword heart sword chi were unleashed. The two surges of energy were channeled into the divine ferocious avatar, causing the originally pure black avatar to have a few different colors. A Daoist physique fusion technique. Sha Unpardonable and Xiao Jingchen's eyes locked onto each other. Come, have a taste of my avatar's power. Chu Kuangren said calmly. The divine ferocious avatar unleashed another punch. With the three Daoist physiques, the power of this punch was almost unparalleled. With a loud bang, Sha Unpardonable's divine ferocious avatar trembled violently. A large amount of ferocious chi flowed out of it as if it was about to dissipate. What a terrifying power! Xiao Jingchen was extremely fearful as he took out a long spear. It was an emperor weapon. With the emperor weapon support, the divine ferocious avatar's power increased once again. Even so, it was still weaker than Chu Kuangren's divine ferocious avatar that was formed from the fusion of the three Daoist physiques. It was constantly being beaten back. Chapter 595. With the help of the emperor weapon, Xiao Jingchen's avatar became even more powerful. Every move it made was as if a heavenly venerable had descended and suppressed the heavens. The heavenly golden imperial physique is not bad, but you're too weak, Chu Kuangren said coldly. With a step forward, the divine ferocious avatar that was formed from the fusion of the three supreme Daoist physiques unleashed a punch and once again forced the heavenly venerable avatar to retreat. This time, the heavenly venerable avatar had already started to crack. At the side, Sha Unpardonable saw that the situation was not good and did not dare to stay any longer. He retracted his avatar and fled in a flash. I can't believe there's such a terrifying skypride from the outside world. How terrifying. Chu Kuangren really lives up to his name. Sha Unpardonable's heart was still filled with shock. When he fled, he turned around to look at Chu Kuangren. Chu Kuangren's invincible figure seemed to have been deeply imprinted in his mind. However, he suddenly realized that Chu Kuangren was also looking at him coldly as if he was looking at a dead man. Fighting and leaving as you please? You don't get away with it so easily, Chu Kuangren said indifferently. A four-colored ray of light flowed in his hand, and a monstrous sword shadow that contained the power of the four divine beasts slashed out. Not good. Sha Unpardonable's expression changed drastically. That sword shadow came at him ferociously, and the surging spiritual power it contained made Sha Unpardonable feel a chill run down his spine. Army of ferocious chi. Sha Unpardonable roared and blocked it with all his might. However, his ferocious chi could not withstand that attack at all. His ferocious chi was torn apart, and the sword shadow landed on his body. Thousands of sword chi exploded and wreaked havoc, almost blowing his entire body into pieces. Just one attack and Sha Unpardonable was on the brink of death. At that moment, a green light suddenly flowed in his body, and a huge surge of vitality erupted. It quickly healed his injuries and pulled him back from the brink of death. Sha Unpardonable, who was lucky enough to survive, did not dare to stay any longer. He channeled all his spiritual power and escaped. Chu Kuangren was slightly surprised. Oh, a life-saving treasure. He did not care much about it. After all, he had already analyzed his opponent's identity. He could take his time to deal with him later. Now, I'll deal with you first. Chu Kuangren looked at Xiao Jingchen. The heavenly ferocious Dharma power behind him threw another 2 or 3 punches and destroyed Xiao Jingchen's heavenly venerate Dharma power. How could this be? Xiao Jingchen's face was filled with disbelief. I have the inheritance of Great Emperor Black Jade. My celestial master body should be able to sweep away everything. Why is it like this? This shouldn't be, it shouldn't be. Xiao Jingchen roared. The heavenly golden imperial physique was the second most powerful physique in the world, and its combat strength was so terrifying that it far surpassed those in the same realm. How could Chu Kuangren defeat it so easily? It did not make sense at all. Like I said, you're too weak, Chu Kuangren said indifferently. The divine ferocious avatar behind him grabbed Xiao Jingchen. Under the other party's terrified gaze, he exerted strength in his 5 fingers, and the power of the heavenly ferocious Dharma erupted. With a crack, the other party's bones and muscles were completely crushed, and he exploded into a cloud of blood mist. The Empyrean body had fallen. After that, Chu Kuangren looked down at the skyprides who were still fighting for the various treasures below him, and an incredibly domineering aura suddenly erupted. All the sky prides were instantly shocked. They felt as if their bodies were being crushed by 100,000 mountains, and they could not move at all. What a terrifying aura. Even the Empyrean body was destroyed by him. Is this guy really invincible? Is there anyone else who can stop him? Sigh, I guess even Qin Tianqian might not be able to defeat this guy. How can there be such a monster in this world? Everyone looked at Chu Kuangren with fear and horror in their eyes. The forbidden sky prides were already unreachable existences in their eyes, yet they had fallen one after another in Chu Kuangren's hands. Chu Kuangren's combat strength was just too terrifying. I'll say it again. All the treasures in this ancient cave of treasures are mine. Anyone who doesn't leave now shall die. Chu Kuangren's voice echoed clearly in everyone's ears. No one dared to refute him. Those who did not want to die could only leave reluctantly. Even the sky prides from the ancient orthodoxies were no exception. Soon, the entire ancient cave of treasures became extremely deserted. Chu Kuangren then led Lan Yu and the others to search for treasures. The ancient cave of treasures had been erupting for 4 times, and thousands of treasures had been released. Many of them were emperor-grade treasures. The opportunity of fortune was beyond imagination. And all of it now belonged to Chu Kuangren. Nangong Huang, Murong Xian, and the others could not contain their excitement. Oh my God, Brother Chu is too terrifying. Red Moon gulped. She and Leng Mingyu were friends with Chu Kuangren, so they had picked up quite a few treasures. Although they could not compare to Chu Kuangren, they had still earned a lot. As for the Divine Radiant Church, Chu Kuangren did not chase them away for Lan Yu's sake, so they had also obtained some treasures. However, their eyes were still burning when they looked at Chu Kuangren. Compared to Chu Kuangren, the treasures that they had obtained were far inferior. At most, it was just a fraction of what they had obtained. Oh, Lady Sage, since you're close to Brother Chu, can you ask him to give us some of the ancient caves? Third Elder stepped forward and said. Lan Yu replied indifferently, I have no right to do that. These are all masters. He can give them to whoever he wants. Lady Sage, this opportunity of fortune is too great. For the sake of the Divine Radiant Church, can't you go and fight for it? Third Elder did not want to give up so easily. Master has his own plans. Hearing Lan Yu calling him master, Third Elder's expression turned sour, but he still suppressed his anger. A cold glint flashed across his eyes. Humph. An outsider would always be an outsider. They could not be fed. It seemed like the plan had to be brought forward. Third Elder glanced at Bachelor Sage Bai Tianxing, who was looking back at him with a similarly sour expression. It was obvious that he had been provoked by Chu Kuangren that day. The treasures that the ancient cave of treasures gave out decreased, and after a few hours, there was no more activity. The opportunity of fortune had come to an end. While Chu Kuangren was sorting out his loot, he suddenly saw a colorful token amidst the dazzling array of treasures. That token contained a mysterious Daoist rhyme. This is the Heavenly Pardon Order. Red Moon could not help but be surprised. Oh, so this is the Heavenly Pardon Order. Chu Kuangren played with the token in his hand. Rumor had it that the emperors were restricted by the rules of the Emperor's Path. They were trapped in the ancestors' land and could not do as they pleased. The Heavenly Pardon Order was a treasure that was produced in the barren forbidden area. This token could remove the restrictions of the Emperor's path, freeing the emperors from their shackles. In other words, this item was useless to Chu Kuangren, but it was a dream item for the emperors. Brother Chu, I'm willing to give you all the treasures that I've fought for just now in exchange for this Heavenly Pardon Order. Can you give it to me? Red Moon said. With this Heavenly Pardon Order, the 7 Emotions sect would have another emperor without any restrictions. This was too important for the 7 Emotions sect. This Heavenly Pardon Order is useless to me, so it's fine to give it to the 7 Emotions sect. Chu Kuangren nodded. Even if he became an emperor, he would not be restricted. The restrictions of the emperor's path were only effective on emperors who were above 9,000 years old. As for Chu Kuangren, 9 years was a long time for him, let alone 9,000 years. With his talents and resources, if he still could not become an emperor after so long, he would probably kill himself. Chapter 596. The opportunities of fortune in the ancient cave of treasures had ended. Lan Yu, Nangong Huang, Chu Kuangren, and a few others from the Black Heaven sect found a place to sit and chat. As for the others, they went to other places to see if there were any opportunities of fortune that they had missed. Lan Yu, how did you become the Radiant Sect's maiden sage? Chu Kuangren asked curiously. Lan Yu said, after entering the Emperor's Road, I happened to land in the Radiant Sect's territory and met the current leader. He could tell that I have a rare holy radiant physique, so he brought me back to the Radiant Sect, taught me the divine radiant flame technique, and appointed me as the Radiant Sect's maiden sage. That's it? Chu Kuangren frowned. How could the Radiant Sect allow an outsider Sky Pride to become their maiden sage so easily? Was it not a joke? There was indeed something fishy about the process, but I had just arrived here and was unfamiliar with the place. I could only rely on the Radiant Sect's power to quickly grasp the situation, Lan Yu said. When you were cultivating the divine radiant flame technique, did the Radiant Sect's leader tell you about the flame relayer? Chu Kuangren asked again. Flame relayer? No, he didn't. Lan Yu shook her head. Oh, that's interesting. Chu Kuangren let out a chuckle, but his eyes were filled with an incomparably cold intent. Flame relayer was a piece of information that Chu Kuangren obtained when he used the Eye of Revelation to observe Lan Yu. This information was related to the divine radiant flame technique that Lan Yu cultivated. Moreover, it was not a good piece of information. Moreover, the divine radiant flame technique that Lan Yu cultivated was incomplete. However, when he had observed the all-seeing saint's movements during the day, the all-seeing saint's cultivation technique was complete. This was very thought-provoking. Oh, Radiant Sect, you and I have no grudges, but since you've suddenly plotted against Lan Yu, don't blame me for being merciless, Chu Kuangren muttered. Just as the Black Heaven Sect's people were catching up, Jian Changfeng suddenly sent a distress message. Chu Kuangren could not help but be surprised. What's wrong with this guy now? His figure flashed and disappeared on the spot. At that moment, the Mystic Sword Guard and Jian Changfeng were being chased by someone. The people chasing them were none other than the sword race's geniuses who were still training in the desolate Forbidden Land. This sword race elite laid down a sword array and surrounded the charmed sword guards and Jian Changfeng. Even though the charmed sword guards were strong, they were unable to break free in a short period of time. In fact, they were even being suppressed. As for Jian Changfeng, there was no need to mention him. The current him was just a figurine without the slightest bit of battle power. Mystic Sword Guard, how dare you betray the Sword Clan? You deserve to die. One of the geniuses of the sword race snorted coldly and slashed out with his sword. Sword Chi intersected in the void and turned into a sword net. There was a loud explosion. The Mei Sword Guard was forced back several steps, and his clothes were torn apart by the sword Chi, revealing a large patch of his snow-white skin. When one of the geniuses of the sword race saw this, he could not help but let out a look of greed as he gulped down his saliva. When the Mystic Sword Guard sensed the other party's gaze, a look of disgust appeared on his face. Jian Yunyang, you'd better let me leave. Otherwise, I guarantee that you will die a horrible death. Mystic Sword Guard, we'll talk after you break our sword formation. Jian Yunyang sneered. His sword formation was extremely powerful. If these geniuses of the sword race fought one-on-one, they would not be a match for the Mystic Sword Guard. But by relying on this sword formation, they were able to fight evenly with the other party. In fact, they might even be stronger. Damn it. The Mystic Sword Guard was forced back by the sword Chi and suffered a few more injuries. Mystic Sword Guard, I really don't understand. The sword race has always treated you well. Why did you betray the sword race? Heh, we've already come to this. What else is there to say? The Mystic Sword Guard sneered. Then don't blame us. Kill. Jian Yunyang snorted coldly and activated the strongest killer move of the sword formation. Countless sword chi intersected in the void and turned into a huge sword shadow that slashed towards the mystic sword guard. The mystic sword guard could not block this sword shadow at all. But just as the sword shadow was about to land on the mystic sword guard, a sword chi suddenly broke through the void and shattered the sword shadow. The marvelous sword formation was broken with a single sound. These people were all sent flying by the sword chi. This power, could it be? Jian Yunyang's pupils shrunk as he thought of something. Not daring to hesitate, he turned around and fled. However, an invisible mind power suddenly shrouded the entire place, and the sword race sky prides were all pressed to the ground, unable to move. In the void, a white-robed figure walked out. That person did not even look at the sword race sky prides. It was as if they were nothing to him. Master. The mystic sword guard half knelt on the ground when he saw that person. The other sky prides of the sword race were instantly dumbfounded. The sword race sky prides had acknowledged Chu Kuangren as their master. Was there anything more ridiculous than that? Chu Kuangren did not say anything and unleashed the spring breeze healing technique. The mystic sword guard's injuries instantly healed. Tell me, what happened? When Jian Changfeng and I were searching for opportunities of fortune, we suddenly encountered these sword race sky prides. They've already found out about my betrayal, so they're hunting me down. I see. Chu Kuangren nodded slightly. Then, he looked at Jian Changfeng. Since we've met here, I might as well help you with your physical body. Jian Changfeng was stunned at first, then he became extremely excited. Master, are you saying that you're going to help me recover my physical body? Which one of these people do you fancy? Choose one. Chu Kuangren pointed at the sky prides of the sword race who were immobilized by his mind power and said. Jian Changfeng then walked to Jian Yunyang. I'll choose him. Jian Yunyang was still puzzled. He had no idea what Chu Kuangren and Jian Changfeng were up to. However, he had a bad feeling about this. After Jian Daozi, the mystic sword guard, and myself, Jian Yunyang is now the top sky pride of the sword race. If he returns to the sword race this time, he'll definitely become a core disciple. Jian Changfeng said. No wonder you've chosen him. Chu Kuangren raised his hand and unleashed the spring breeze healing technique, which healed Jian Yunyang's injuries until they were completely healed. That made Jian Yunyang even more confused. You injured me and now you're healing me? What's the meaning of this? At that moment, a black chain with a barb appeared in Chu Kuangren's hand. It emanated a sinister aura. It was the soul retriever. Go! Chu Kuangren unleashed the soul retriever. Accompanied by a shrill scream, Jian Yunyang's soul was forcibly dragged out of his physical body, and he could not move a single inch in the void. The sky prides of the sword race felt their scalps go numb and their hearts palpitated. Even Jian Changfeng could not help but shiver. However, he then excitedly jumped into Jian Yunyang's physical body. That was the perfect condition for his soul to be swapped. It was a soulless body that was not damaged at all. Black smoke emitted from Jian Changfeng's figurine and entered Jian Yunyang's eyes, ears, mouth, and nose. After a while, Jian Yunyang opened his eyes, got up, and stretched his body before kneeling on the ground. Thank you, Master, for giving me a new lease of life. At that moment, he was Jian Changfeng. When you return to the sword race, continue to monitor their movements for me. Yes, I'll make good use of this identity. Jian Changfeng looked at Jian Yunyang's soul, who was beside him, and revealed a cold smile. Devil, you must be a devil. Jian Yunyang looked at Chu Kuangren and screamed in horror. What else could he be other than a devil? Chapter 597. Demons? Heh, thanks for the compliment. Chu Kuangren smiled. He gently tugged on the soul retriever, and an extremely cold energy that targeted souls exploded, instantly destroying Jian Yunyang's soul. I beg you, please spare us. Yes, as long as you let us go, we're willing to serve you like Jian Changfeng and serve you as our master. The sky prides of the swordsmen kept begging for their lives. However, Chu Kuangren remained calm and said, "I'm sorry, but the slave seal has a limited number of slots. It's not your turn yet." As he spoke, he raised his hand and unleashed a few surges of sword chi. In the blink of an eye, the sword chi killed the sky prides of the swordsmen. The slave seal was not without its limitations. The more slave seals were used, the more burden it would place on Chu Kuangren. Hence, he would not use this technique easily. Good steel should be used on the blade. Jian Changfeng and the Phantom Sword Sentinel were both peerless sky prides. One was sent to the swordsman, and the other was a supreme Daoist physique. Only people like them were of value to Chu Kuangren. "Master, should I return to the swordsman now?" "Up to you. You can continue to train in the barren forbidden area or go back. Whatever it is, you're not fit to stay by my side anymore." If others saw Jian Changfeng by Chu Kuangren's side, then the fact that he was one of his people would be exposed. "All right." Jian Changfeng nodded and disappeared on the spot. Behind him, the Phantom Sword Sentinel walked up and said, "Master, I have something to report to you." "Speak." "The Dark God Society has found me." "Oh? Tell me about it." Chu Kuangren's interest was piqued. "They seem to have their eyes on my fallen darkness physique and hope that I can leave with them and join the Dark God Society." "Interesting." Chu Kuangren was still thinking about how to deal with the Radiant sect. The Dark God Society had their eyes on the other person beside him. "What do you have in mind?" "I'll listen to you, Master." "Don't listen to me all the time. You're not puppets. Tell me, what do you have in mind?" Chu Kuangren said. The slave seal only planted the Phantom Sword Sentinel's loyalty to Chu Kuangren. It did not control their minds. What he wanted were capable subordinates. He was not a puppet that only knew how to obey orders. The Darkness Church has a deep foundation. If you can grasp it, it should be useful to master. You want to join? I have that thought, but the final decision lies with the master. Deep down, the Mystic Sword Sentinel understood that what Chu Kuangren needed was not an ordinary follower or bodyguard. He would not be of much use if he were to follow Chu Kuangren around. Moreover, she was not willing to just be an ordinary follower or guard. She wanted Chu Kuangren to see her worth. She had the fallen darkness body, which was the most suitable Taoist body for darkness. If she joined the Thuli cult, she might be able to bring out her true value. Join the Thuli society. This may be an opportunity for you. However, they will investigate your background and soon find out that you are loyal to me. I believe it won't be long before they come looking for me. This matter is not urgent, let's talk about it when they come looking for me. Chu Kuangren said indifferently. Yes. After that, Chu Kuangren continued to explore the barren forbidden area with Lan Yu and the others, snatching up all the opportunities of fortune. This is too cruel, too cruel. A great treasure has appeared in the 8 remoteness Dragon Mountain, but it was snatched away by Chu Kuangren. The other few hundred sky prides can only watch helplessly. Sigh, it's not just the 8 remoteness Dragon Mountain. Every time a great opportunity of fortune appears, Chu Kuangren snatches it away. This person is too arrogant and overbearing. What can we do? He's too strong. We're no match for him at all. This opportunity of fortune will be snatched away by him. Is there really no one who can stop him? Chu Kuangren forcefully swept away most of the opportunities of fortune in the barren forbidden area. Everywhere he went, the sky prides complained. At that moment, all the sky prides in the barren forbidden area hated Chu Kuangren so much that they could not wait to skin him alive. However, Chu Kuangren did not care about any of that. The strong survive, and the weak die. That was the unchanging truth since time immemorial. If he had the strength to obtain these opportunities of fortune, then these opportunities of fortune should belong to him. What did the complaints of others have to do with him? Unlike the other sky prides who were complaining, Nangong Huang, Murong Xian, and the others were extremely excited these days. They did not know how many treasures they had obtained by following Chu Kuangren. The number of treasures they had seen in their entire lives was not as much as what they had obtained in the barren forbidden area. Night. The moon was bright and the stars were sparse. Somewhere in the barren forbidden area, there was a bonfire burning. A few people from the Black Heavens sect were gathered there. Aside from the Black Heavens sect, there were only 3 outsiders, namely Red Moon, Leng Ningyu, and the Mystic Sword Sentinel. As for the Radiant Sect's people, Lanyu had already found an excuse to send them away under Chu Kuangren's instructions. Moreover, they were too embarrassed to follow Chu Kuangren. Furthermore, Chu Kuangren's actions were so flamboyant that he had become the target of many forces. Even the School of Light could not withstand it. Congratulations, host. You've obtained a legendary technique restoration card. Chu Kuangren casually drew a prize while the others were chatting. He took a look at the introduction. Cultivation technique completion card, legendary. You can choose any legendary technique. This card can be used to fill in the gaps and upgrade the technique. Chu Kuangren's eyes lit up when he saw the technique restoration card. I've really gotten what I've been missing. This restoration card, it's great that it's here. Chu Kuangren smiled. At that moment, Leng Ningyu, who was beside him, seemed to have received some news as her expression changed slightly. Brother Leng, what's wrong? Chu Kuangren asked curiously. I've just received a message from a junior sister. She wants me and Red Moon to leave Brother Chu's side as soon as possible, Leng Ningyu said. Upon hearing that, Chu Kuangren's eyes flashed as he pondered. It seems that some people want to deal with me. Chu Kuangren smiled faintly. It's not some people. Leng Ningyu shook her head and said, it's a lot of people. Oh, how many? The Wang family, the Bai family, the demonic tribe, the swordsman tribe, the runic lands, the Qin family, the 9-headed snakelet tribe, the Yin-Yang sect, the Thousand Array sect, and so on. All the Sky Prides who came to the barren forbidden area are here to deal with you. Leng Ningyu said solemnly. In her eyes, there was a hint of worry that even she did not notice. Chu Kuangren smiled faintly. Oh, even those who have heard of me and those who have never heard of me are planning to join in. This is interesting. Brother Chu, you still have the mood to joke at a time like this? Can you handle so many people? Red Moon said helplessly. She had never seen fear on this man's face before. It was as if there was nothing in this world that could scare him. How can I not handle a bunch of mobs? Chu Kuangren laughed and said, however, with so many forces here, it's not suitable for the 7 Emotions sect to join in. Your junior sister was right to send you a message. You guys should leave. It was not that he wanted to hurt Leng Ningyu and Red Moon, but with so many people here, it would be useless even if the 2 of them stayed. Chapter 598. Hey, you're making it sound like we're being immoral. After all, it's all thanks to you that we've gotten our hands on a lot of good stuff. Senior sister and I may be weak, but don't even think about letting us go. Chiyu patted his chest with a heroic look on his face. Leng Ningyu nodded. Red Moon is right. Seeing that he could not persuade the 2, Chu Kuangren did not say anything else. After all, he did not plan to let the 2 ladies participate in the battle. Suddenly, Chu Kuangren's expression changed slightly, and he smiled. We have guests tonight. Everyone, stop hiding and come out. Whoosh. 3 figures walked out from the dark void. Their auras were incredibly powerful, comparable to a boundary emperor's. How dare the 3 of you follow me? Isn't the Church of Darkness underestimating me a little too much? Chu Kuangren said calmly. These 3 people were from the Thuli Church, and he had a rough guess as to why they had come looking for him. Chu Kuangren, don't you know that you're about to die? One of the skinny old men said. As soon as he finished speaking, Chu Kuangren disappeared from where he was. When he reappeared, he was already holding the skinny old man by the neck, lifting him into the air like a chicken. The old man wanted to resist, but he was suppressed by an incredibly powerful spiritual power. All he could do was flail his arms and legs in the air with fear in his eyes. How dare a low-level boundary emperor act so presumptuously in front of me? Who gave you the courage? Is it that so-called dark god of yours? Chu Kuangren said. The other two cultivators' expressions changed, but they did not act rashly. They looked at Chu Kuangren with fear in their eyes. Brother Chu, let's talk this out. Boom. Before they could finish, the skinny old man who was being lifted into the air was crushed by a terrifying force. His flesh and bones exploded on the spot, and blood splattered everywhere. The remaining two cultivators were as silent as cicadas in winter. Only now can we have a good talk. Chu Kuangren casually retracted his hand. His clean white robe was still spotless, and coupled with his handsome face, he looked like a refined immortal under the moonlight. Gulp, the remaining two swallowed their saliva, their faces filled with fear. Brother Chu, I'm the fourth elder of the Thuli Church. We're here to make a deal with you. A cultivator from Stygian Church said. Say it, what deal? Fellow Chu, you should know that you've offended too many cultivators in the desolate forbidden area. Your existence has made everyone restless, so they've already decided to eliminate you. And my dark church can provide you with the information of these people, as well as the means they use to deal with you. The fourth dark elder said. Then what do you want from me? I want you to tell me how you made the charming sword guard follow you and hand her over to our Thuli society. The fourth dark elder said. They had investigated the mystic sword guards and found out that they were once members of the swordsmen, but they had now betrayed the swordsmen and followed Chu Kuangren. Chu Kuangren must have done something to it. At the side, the charming sword guard stood up and wanted to say something. However, Chu Kuangren waved his hand to stop her. You want the charming sword guard because of her fallen darkness physique, right? That's right. The Divine Church of Light has a bachelor sage, but our bachelor sage has fallen. We need fresh blood, and the fallen darkness physique is undoubtedly what we need. The fourth elder did not hide anything and revealed his purpose. You want the charming sword guard, sure, but I don't need you to tell me anything. I want the Dark Church to do me a favor. What favor? When the time comes, I'll look for you again. Both of them looked at each other. They did not know what Chu Kuangren was up to, so they were momentarily at a loss. Chu Kuangren said, Don't worry, I can guarantee that what I want you to do will not harm the Dark Church's interests. Who knows, you might even be willing to help me. All right. Now you can tell me how you made the charming sword guard betray the swordsman and follow you, the fourth elder said. If they did not solve this mystery, they would not dare to bring the charming sword guard back to the Dark Church. Who knew if they would betray the Dark Church like they did to the swordsman? The risks involved were too great. Poison. I have a poison pill that's specifically used to control others. If they don't want to die, they'll have to listen to me. What kind of poison pill is this? Chu Kuangren took out 2 bottles of pills and said, This is the poison pill and the antidote. If you don't believe me, you can test it. We'll test it. All right, I've given you the antidote. Take them away. Chu Kuangren glanced at the charming sword guard. She nodded slightly and stood beside the 2 Dark Church cultivators. The 3 of them glanced at Chu Kuangren before they disappeared into the night. Chu Kuangren looked at the bonfire and chuckled. In this world, what poison pill is more powerful than the soul mastery slave seal? The poison pill could only control one's body. On the other hand, the slave seal could change one's mind. The charming sword guard left with the 4th elder of the Dark Church. After they left, they went to a secret place and took out the 2 bottles of pills that Chu Kuangren gave them. One of the cultivators took out the poison pill with a determined look in his eyes. Dear God of Darkness, I'm willing to sacrifice everything for the Dark Church. Then, he used his own body to test the medicine and consumed the poison pill. Beside him, the charming sword guard was shocked. These cultivators of the divine sect were really a bunch of lunatics. How do you feel? The 4th elder asked. The cultivator looked like he was in pain. There's an extremely strong poison inside my body that's corroding my body. Even with my cultivation level, I can't stop it. What a terrifying poison pill. Here, take the antidote. The fourth elder took out the antidote. After the cultivator consumed it, he frowned. The poison has been contained, but it's still there. It hasn't been neutralized. Chu Kuangren once said that this poison pill needs 7 antidotes to completely neutralize it, the charming sword guard said. The fourth elder poured out a few more antidotes. After 7 pills, the poison pill in the cultivator's body was finally neutralized. Here, charming sword guard, take this too. All right. The charming sword guard took the antidote. However, at that moment, the fourth elder suddenly grabbed her arm and channeled his spiritual power into her body to check on her condition. There's indeed poison in your body. It seems like Chu Kuangren wasn't lying. After a while, the fourth elder let go with an apologetic look on his face. Please forgive us, charming sword guard. For the sake of the Dark Church, we have to be more cautious. It's all right, I understand. The charming sword guard nodded, but deep down, she was thankful. Fortunately, Chu Kuangren had indeed created the poison pill for the charming sword guard to consume in order to make the act more realistic. Otherwise, their cover would have been blown. Charming sword guard, follow us back to the Dark Church. We'll hold a coronation ceremony for you. From now on, you'll be the sacred lady of the Dark Church. The Dark Church's resources will be given to you to help you fight for the throne of this world. The fourth elder said solemnly. I'm more than satisfied to be free from Chu Kuangren's control. Chu Kuangren killed our sacred sage. We'll never forget this grudge. However, he's currently at the peak of his power, so it's not wise to fight him head-on. We'll definitely take revenge in the future. The fourth elder snorted coldly. Beside him, a cold glint flashed across the charming sword guard's eyes. Trying to harm our master? Once I gain a foothold in the Dark Church, I'll deal with you first. Chapter 599. The ancient Path Lake was one of the great opportunities of fortune within the barren Forbidden area. The Dao Lake's opportunities of fortune would appear in the near future. Logically speaking, the area around the Dao Lake should be bustling with activity as sky prides would gather at this time. However, there were very few people around the Dao Lake at this moment. On a mountain peak not far away from the ancient Path Lake, a large number of sky prides had gathered and were looking in the direction of the Dao Lake. Each and every one of them was a sky pride. Among them, there were even a few forbidden sky prides. They seemed to be discussing something as they gathered together. If this scene was recorded with an image recording stone and uploaded to the public, it would definitely cause a huge commotion. After all, these forbidden sky prides were all prideful individuals who were often compared to others. Hence, when they met on a normal day, they would definitely fight each other openly or secretly. Aside from a few who were on good terms with each other, who would gather together peacefully to talk. Not to mention, this included the human clan and the beast clan. It was unimaginable. Yet now, this scene was happening right in front of everyone. And the one who unknowingly made this happen was none other than Chu Kuangren. The pressure he exerted on everyone was so great that the forbidden sky prides had no choice but to unite against him. When faced with a common enemy, even enemies who were usually at odds with each other would temporarily put aside their prejudices and join forces. Do you guys think Chu Kuangren will really come? Jiao Yen of the ancient wild beast nine-headed snakelet tribe said. He will, Wang Quan replied with a serious look. He will? Jiao Yen sneered and said, there's no way Chu Kuangren wouldn't notice such a huge commotion. Do you really think he'll come when all the sky prides in the barren forbidden area are gathered against him? He will. Wang Quan continued to repeat, he is a heaven's pride, a peerless heaven's pride since ancient times. His pride doesn't allow him to cower, so he will definitely come. Wang Quan was not the only one who thought so. Bai Hongyu, Zi Wuji, and the other forbidden sky prides thought so too. It was said that the person who understood you the most might be your enemy. That was true. Wang Quan and the others had fought Chu Kuangren a few times. Although they were defeated every time, they could feel his arrogance. That arrogance of looking down on everyone in the world. To Chu Kuangren, we're all just defeated opponents. What kind of threat can a group of defeated opponents like us pose to him? How could he possibly give up the opportunity of fortune in front of him for us? Wang Quan sneered. He had already seen through Chu Kuangren's thoughts. Upon hearing his words, the sky prides who had fought against Chu Kuangren before did not look happy at all. However, none of them refuted him. That was because they were indeed defeated by Chu Kuangren. Humph, it is precisely because of this mentality that he will fail this time. At that moment, a young man in a yin-yang Daoist robe spoke out coldly. This person was the forbidden genius of the yin-yang god sect, Yunluozi. That's right. This time, we've set up multiple killing formations around the ancient Daoist lake. Even if Chu Kuangren has 3 heads and 6 arms, he won't be able to escape no matter how strong his combat strength is. Another forbidden sky pride said. This person wore a long white robe and held an array disc in his hand. He was the array child of the 10,000 array sect. The 10,000 array sect was the best at setting up array formations. Legend had it that if the array child was given enough time to set up the array formation, he could even kill an emperor realm cultivator. Although no one knew if this rumor was true, the fact that such a rumor had been passed down in the world was enough to show how powerful this person was. Besides that, my clan brother will be coming as well. A young man said. He was not a forbidden sky pride, but a top-notch sky pride from the Qin clan. However, his words made everyone's eyes light up. Will that person be coming as well? Among all the sky prides, I think he's the only one who has the ability to fight Chu Kuangren. If he's here, we'll have more confidence. At the mention of that person, even the forbidden sky prides could not help but become serious. That person was the brightest existence among the Emperor Path sky prides. The Qin clan's forbidden master who was known as the reincarnation of a great emperor. Let's continue to pay attention. Looking at the time, the opportunity of fortune at the ancient Daoist lake is about to appear. If Chu Kuangren is coming, it should be about time. Everyone looked towards the direction of the ancient Daoist lake. Some had fiery gazes, while others had expectant gazes. Rumor has it that the primeval Daoist essence produced by the ancient Daoist lake is one of the most valuable treasures in this world. Aside from being able to increase one's cultivation level, it can also allow one to gain enlightenment quickly. It's extremely rare. Not only that, but it's said that the primeval Daoist essence can also increase one's physical strength to the point where one can stand shoulder to shoulder with an ancient wild beast. If it was in the past, the primeval Daoist essence would be the focus of everyone's attention. However, now, the Daoist essence could only serve as a foil. The sky prides were more concerned about the upcoming battle, and the unparalleled demon who was going to fight against all the sky prides by himself. The ancient Daoist lake was located at the top of a mountain. The lake water was as clear as a mirror, and both sides were lush with greenery. It was like a paradise on earth. Today, however, ripples suddenly appeared on the ancient Daoist lake. The ripples grew larger and larger, and gradually turned into a wave that swept in all directions. In the middle of the ancient Daoist lake, the lake water tumbled and white waves surged as if something was about to break out of the water. At the bottom of the lake, a ball of white light grew brighter and brighter. Accompanied by a pillar of water that shot into the sky, that ball of white light also emerged from the water's surface. It was a white ball of light the size of a baby, and there were countless mysterious light patterns circulating within it as if it was reflecting the laws of nature. Those were Daoist patterns. Those were Daoist patterns, the mysteries of Taoism. It was a phenomenon that would only manifest when a Daoist rhyme had reached a certain level of concentration. On the mountain peak several dozen kilometers away, many sky prides had already seen the primeval Daoist essence that had rushed out of the ancient Daoist lake. Everyone's eyes were glued to that Daoist essence. Their breaths were extremely heavy, and they could not wait to rush out and fight for it. That's the primeval Daoist essence. Such intense energy fluctuations, and the Daoist rhyme that it contains has even formed into Daoist patterns. This is too mysterious. If I can refine this primeval Daoist essence, then my Daoist Tao will definitely reach a perfect state. That's right. When that time comes, I won't have to worry about not being able to fight against Chu Kuangren. Many Sky Prides had fiery eyes. Even the forbidden Sky Prides were a little tempted. They did not expect the primeval Daoist essence to appear this time to be so tempting. The opportunity of fortune was too great. Calm down, everyone. Don't forget the purpose of our trip here. At that moment, Wang Quan snorted coldly. Upon hearing his words, everyone gradually calmed down. They must not be impulsive. What could they do even if they rushed out and snatched it? They were no match for Chu Kuangren. It's here. At that moment, Bai Hongyu's gaze froze. Everyone's hearts instantly trembled as they looked towards the mountain path that led to the ancient Daoist lake. Then, a set of steady and powerful footsteps echoed on the mountain path as a figure slowly walked towards the ancient Daoist lake. That person had a tall and slender figure, and his white robe was spotless. His handsome face was flawless, and the corner of his mouth was curled up into a smile that seemed to be mocking them. As expected, he will definitely not miss out on the primeval Daoist essence of the ancient Daoist lake. Wang Quan took a deep breath and said. At that moment, everyone's attention was drawn to that white-robed figure, and their gazes gradually turned solemn. Everyone, let's get ready to move. Chapter 600. Ancient Daoist Lake, Ancient Daoist Lake. The great opportunity of fortune within the barren forbidden area, the opportunity of fortune within the ancient Daoist lake had finally appeared. It was a primeval Daoist source that contained Daoist patterns. Such an opportunity of fortune was enough to attract countless people to fight for it. However, the surroundings were extremely deserted. Suddenly, a steady and powerful footstep echoed on the mountain path. A handsome young man in a white robe with black hair and a gorgeous ancient sword hanging from his waist slowly approached. His eyes were like torches as he stared directly at the primeval Daoist source. It was Chu Kuangren. He looked at the primeval Daoist source and smirked. If I absorb this Daoist source, it'll be more than what I've gained in the past half a month. He looked around but did not see anyone. Come, let me see what kind of gift you've prepared for me. Chu Kuangren smiled. As soon as he finished speaking, a large number of runes suddenly appeared in the void around him and surrounded him. The light of the runes flowed, and his surroundings were shrouded by a terrifying domineering aura. Runes? Ha, it's the land of runes. Chu Kuangren recognized the runes around him at a glance. In the past, when he battled with Zi Wuji using runes, he obtained a myriad rune catalog from Zi Wuji. There were many runes recorded on it, and he had studied them before, so he had mastered all of them. He knew all of these runes. Boom, 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 runes appeared all over the sky, and all kinds of energy fluctuations erupted. Flames, frost, wind blades, and rain all swept towards Chu Kuangren. The power was so great that the entire 10,000-meter-tall mountain shook. However, Chu Kuangren did not move an inch from his original spot. Instead, he activated his mind power, and the surrounding spiritual qi rushed towards him like 100 rivers returning to the sea. The spiritual qi gathered around him and turned into a gigantic silver rune that enveloped the entire mountaintop. Destruction Rune. As soon as the Destruction Rune appeared, a powerful shockwave instantly erupted. The mysterious power of the runes disintegrated all the runes in the void with an unstoppable momentum. On the distant mountain peak, Zi Wuji's pupils shrank. It's this rune again. It's this mysterious rune again. Chu Kuangren's Destruction Rune was too much of a threat to a rune master. It was not even weaker than his purple rune demonic eyes. These two were the mysterious powers of runes. Damn it. With the mysterious power of these runes, my runes are practically useless against him. Zi Wuji said gloomily. Outside of the ancient Dao lakes, in the instant that the runes in the sky shattered, powerful ripples of energy erupted from the nearby mountain peaks. Chu Kuangren swept his gaze across the area and noticed that there were dozens of unusual giant stone pillars protruding from the ancient path lake. Every stone pillar had a person standing on it, and the positions of the stone pillars were very strange, containing the mysteries of the 5 elements and 8 trigrams. After the runes is the formation? Chu Kuangren said indifferently. His interest was piqued. I want to see how far you can go to fight against me. He took a step forward and wanted to collect the primeval Dao source first. But at this moment, the surrounding stone pillars suddenly shook. An incomparably majestic surge of earth chi shot up into the sky and circulated in the void before it turned into 64 giant light pillars. They landed around Chu Kuangren and formed an indestructible cage, trapping him within. Chu Kuangren, what do you think of my underground prison formation that uses earth chi as the pillar and the mountain river momentum as the prison? A loud laugh came from one of the stone pillars. The person who laughed was the forbidden sky pride of the Thousand Array sect, Formation Daoist. He had a smug expression on his face. This underground prison formation was something that he had spent a long time setting up. He was confident that even an Emperor Realm cultivator might not be able to break it. Just as Formation Daoist finished speaking, the clouds suddenly began to rumble. Dark clouds gathered and thunder rumbled. The thunder was accompanied by alternating black and white lights, and a surge of surging yin-yang spiritual power erupted. Amidst the dark clouds, a young man in a black and white Daoist robe stared coldly at Chu Kuangren, who was trapped in the underground prison formation. Chu Kuangren, I'm the current forbidden Yunluozi of the yin-yang sect. Let me show you the power of the yin-yang dual lightning. With a cold roar, bolts of black and white lightning struck down from the sky. They penetrated the underground prison formation and locked onto Chu Kuangren. The black lightning was vicious, while the white lightning was fierce and domineering. The 2 types of lightning struck continuously, cutting off Chu Kuangren's escape route. Chu Kuangren's gaze was indifferent as he stood still. Countless bolts of lightning struck him, but they were all deflected by his sword fingers. The lightning energy continued to explode and crash against the underground prison formation. Although it was easy to enter the formation, it was extremely difficult to break it from the inside. Under the impact of the massive lightning energy, the formation did not suffer even the slightest damage. Suddenly, an angry roar came from the clouds. The lightning energy around Yunluozi continued to gather towards him. The yang and yin lightning danced wildly on his body, and his entire body was shrouded in lightning. It was as if he was a deity that controlled lightning. Yin and Yang fusion, heaven-piercing thunder divine sword. Yunluozi let out a long roar as the yin and yang lightning energies merged within his body. Finally, it erupted from his palm and turned into a terrifying gray sword shadow that descended from the sky. That was Yunluozi's strongest technique. It was an extremely terrifying technique. Even the forbidden sky prides were extremely afraid of it. For divine symbols primordial sword. An indifferent voice resounded. Chu Kuangren lifted his arm and gathered the power of earth, wind, water, and fire into a 4-colored sword ray that shot into the sky. The 4 divine symbols primordial sword clashed against the sky-piercing thunder divine sword. 2 terrifying forces suddenly exploded. However, the moment the gray sword shadow came into contact with the 4 divine symbols primordial sword, it crumbled. The power of the 4 divine symbols overpowered the heavenly lightning. The domineering aura of the 4 divine symbols primordial sword locked onto Yunluozi, causing his face to turn pale with fear. How is this possible? Yunluozi could not believe that his strongest technique was broken by his opponent with just a lift of his hand. Accompanied by a loud explosion, the 4 divine symbols primordial sword did not land on Yunluozi. Instead, it landed on the underground prison formation. The formation, which used the earth chi as its pillar and the mountain and river's momentum as its prison, instantly trembled violently. One by one, the pillars of light exploded. Amidst the explosions of the earth chi pillars, the underground prison formation was broken. The impact of the collision between the 4 divine symbols primordial sword and the earth chi spread outwards. Yunluozi, who was closest to it, was the first to bear the brunt of the impact. Even though he tried his best to defend himself, he was still instantly sent flying. He spat out a mouthful of blood on the spot, and several of his bones were broken. The dark clouds in the sky dispersed, and the sun once again shone on the ancient Daoist lake. Chu Kuangren stood with his hands behind his back and an indifferent expression on his face. Runes, formations, yin and yang lightning energies. What can they do to me? Everyone looked at Chu Kuangren and gulped down their saliva. The Daoist was especially shocked. I spent a lot of effort to set up this Earth Qi Grand formation, but it was broken by a single sword attack from him. I can't believe this B***starred strength is so strong. What one hears may be false, but seeing is believing. All this while, the Daoist had only heard about Chu Kuangren's strength from others. Now, he had finally seen it with his own eyes. Chu Kuangren's strength was far beyond his imagination. Chapter 601. Chu Kuangren broke through the yin-yang lightning and the underground prison formation with a single sword strike. Then, he slowly stepped out and continued to walk towards the primeval Daoist origin. Seeing that, the Daoist master yelled, "Activate the killing formation." Apart from the underground prison formation, the Daoist master had also prepared a killing formation, and that killing formation was the strongest technique he had prepared. The Daoist master then took out a formation board and tossed it into the air. The people standing on the stone pillars suddenly let out a low growl and unleashed surges of spiritual power attacks. However, they were not attacking Chu Kuangren, but the formation board in the air. The surges of spiritual power merged into the formation board and formed a huge spiritual vortex. A terrifying energy fluctuation instantly spread, shaking everything within a 10,000-kilometer radius. Oh, so this formation can merge your powers together? Looks like this is going to be interesting. Chu Kuangren smirked. Attack! The Daoist master yelled, and the formation board suddenly unleashed a terrifying spiritual light beam that shot towards Chu Kuangren. With a clang, the descendant's self-sword was unsheathed. A sword ray slashed towards the light beam, and the collision of the two energies caused the entire ancient Daoist lake to roll wildly. Everyone, activate the Divine Soul Eradication Formation. The Daoist master yelled. Everyone yelled in unison as surges of spiritual power surged into the formation board above the ancient Daoist lake. Mysterious light patterns flowed on the formation board, and a huge golden light beam shot out towards Chu Kuangren. The power of that attack was extremely terrifying as it combined the power of hundreds and thousands of sky prides. Wherever the light beam went, the void collapsed and shattered. It was a terrifying sight. Faced with such power, Chu Kuangren finally revealed a serious expression for the first time. I'll show you what true power is. The spiritual power within Chu Kuangren's body surged, and the power of the three great Daoist physiques instantly merged together, forming a huge divine ferocious avatar. The divine ferocious avatar roared and unleashed a punch, colliding with the huge spiritual light beam. In an instant, the mountain peak caved in. The energy impact was like a tidal wave, wave after wave. The surrounding clouds tumbled and retreated, forming a clear sky. The spiritual light beam and the divine ferocious avatar were still fighting against each other when a majestic Daoist rhyme appeared on Chu Kuangren's body. Heavenly Punishment Daoist Rhyme. The moment the Heavenly Punishment Daoist rhyme appeared, the majestic heavenly might shocked everyone present, causing all the sky prides present to feel their scalps go numb. With the support of the Heavenly Punishment Daoist rhyme, the power of the heavenly ferocious Dharma idol multiplied once again. The terrifying Dharma power that erupted from the Dharma idol's fist almost shattered the light pillar and completely knocked down the arrayed disc in the air. Not good, I need to increase my strength. Daoist formation's expression changed and his heart skipped a beat. He was able to fight against all the elites by himself. In fact, it was even better than that. This kind of power made him feel terrified. If it were not for the presence of so many sky prides, he would not have dared to face Chu Kuangren alone no matter how intricate his formation was. This person's battle prowess had already reached an unimaginable level. Red Dragon Phoenix Saber. On a stone pillar not far away, Bai Hongyu took out her monarch weapon. With the help of the sovereign weapon, her spiritual power increased once again. As for the others, they also used all kinds of methods to increase their spiritual energy. Some used quasi-emperor weapons, some used elixirs, and some used secret techniques. More and more spiritual power was channeled into the array disc, causing the spiritual light pillar to become even more dazzling. The terrifying power caused the divine ferocious avatar's spiritual power to fluctuate violently. The power of the three great Daoist physiques began to show signs of collapsing, and the entire avatar took a few steps back. The Sky Pride's eyes lit up when they saw that. We have a chance. We can win. We can win. Daoist formation, Wang Quan, Bai Hongyu, and the others were overjoyed. Further away, on a mountain peak, Nangong Huang, Murong Xian, and the others were watching the battle on the ancient Daoist lake. When they saw that Chu Kuangren's avatar was on the verge of collapsing, their hearts almost jumped out of their throats. Oh no, the sect leader seems to be at a disadvantage. CK these guys are really putting in a lot of effort to deal with the sect leader. I can't believe they've prepared such a formation. We can't let this go on. Murong Xian, let's go and help. Shang Qingxue said, feeling a little restless. At that moment, Lan Yu stood in front of them and said, Master has said that all of you can only watch and not do anything. Beside her, Red Moon could not help but frown. Brother Chu, you're in danger now, yet you're still so calm. Aren't you worried? Even Leng Ningyu, who usually did not show her emotions, was a little restless. Lan Yu, on the other hand, was very calm from the beginning. Danger? Lan Yu sneered. These mobs are not strong enough to put my master in danger. She had been with Chu Kuangren for the longest time. She had been with him since the beginning of his cultivation journey. Along the way, she had seen Chu Kuangren overcome too many dangerous and desperate situations that no one else could. Now, this scene was not even a difficult situation for Chu Kuangren. On the ancient Daoist lake, Chu Kuangren's divine ferocious avatar seemed like it could not hold on much longer. However, he did not panic at all. In fact, he even smiled. Is this your limit? If that's all you've got, it's far from enough to fight me. As soon as he said that, Chu Kuangren took a step forward and a surge of domineering aura instantly erupted. The 7 supreme foundation levels in his body shone brightly, and the Emperor's chi in his spiritual mound gushed out and entered the divine ferocious avatar. Emperor's chi, the power of an emperor. Even if it was just one strand of it, it instantly multiplied the divine ferocious avatar's power after it was integrated into the divine ferocious avatar, unleashing a surge of Emperor's chi. With a roar, the divine ferocious avatar's fist energy exploded once again. The power of the 3 supreme Daoist physiques combined with the heavenly punishment Daoist rhyme, and the power of the Emperor's chi instantly shattered the spiritual power light pillar and smashed onto the formation board in midair. Accompanied by a deafening explosion, the formation board shattered on the spot. Meanwhile, the Sky Prides who had continuously channeled their spiritual power into the formation board suffered a backlash. Their spiritual power flowed backward, instantly injuring them. Even someone as strong as Wang Quan and Bai Hongyu, who was a forbidden existence, could not help but vomit blood on the spot. As for the slightly weaker ones, their bones and flesh were completely shattered, exploding into a blood mist on the spot. In an instant, streaks of blood mist bloomed like flowers on the dozens of stone pillars, exploding one after another. Thousands of Sky Prides were either dead or injured. It was a complete mess. Chu Kuangren stood where he was, his white robe still spotless. Behind him, the divine ferocious avatar stood proudly, emanating an endless domineering aura. The survivors looked at the person in front of them in horror. Emperor's chi, he has cultivated a surge of Emperor's chi. D***MN, a surge of Emperor's chi. He has cultivated a surge of Emperor's chi before becoming an emperor. This person's combat strength is too terrifying. He's too strong. We've lost this battle again. Wang Quan, Bai Hongyu, and the other forbidden Sky Prides were in complete despair. Thousands of sky prides working together could not defeat Chu Kuangren. No, they could not even hurt him. The gap between them was just too big. At that moment, the sky pride's Daoist core was almost shattered by Chu Kuangren. Chu Kuangren's name would become a psychological scar that would follow them for the rest of their lives. You're too weak. Even if you gather all your strength, you're still vulnerable to me. Chu Kuangren said calmly. In the distance, Leng Mingyu, Red Moon, and the others were shocked. Thousands of sky prides were defeated by a single person, and now they were being mocked by him. At that thought, the few of them looked at the remaining sky prides with pity in their eyes. Chapter 602. 1,000 people against one person, 1,000 people were defeated. The problem was that these 1,000 people were all sky prides from the major forces, and many of them were even forbidden sky prides. Yet, they still lost miserably. Not only did they lose, but they lost so badly that they could not even show their faces. After Chu Kuangren mocked them, he did not even look at the crowd as he walked towards the primordial Daoist origin. Just as he was about to keep the Daoist origin, a majestic palm tree suddenly came from a distant mountain peak. That palm tree was like a torrent that contained earth-shattering power. Before it even landed, the entire ancient Daoist lake surface had already sunk. Oh, interesting. Chu Kuangren's eyes flashed as he pointed his sword finger and unleashed a sword ray. The sword ray collided with the palm tree, causing the entire ancient Daoist lake's lake water to tumble violently. Under that extremely powerful force, the lake was almost split into two. The lake water rumbled and rumbled. That primordial Daoist origin is mine. An indifferent voice was heard. The crowd looked towards the source of the voice and saw a purple-robed figure standing on a mountain peak. It was a young cultivator with a tough face and a disdainful gaze. Every move he made was filled with an extraordinary aura. Vaguely, the crowd seemed to see an emperor who looked down on the world and the 9 firmaments. They could not help but want to submit to him. Chu Kuangren saw that person too. Without using the eye of revelation, he instantly knew who that person was. The reincarnation of a great emperor, Qin Tianchen. Chu Kuangren smirked. Finally, a worthy opponent. However, you're dreaming if you think you can take the primordial Daoist origin. As soon as he said that, Chu Kuangren's figure instantly disappeared from where he was and appeared in front of the primordial Daoist origin. He raised his hand and grabbed it. Qin Tianchen, who was on the mountain peak, also made his move. Great Luo Frost Palm. With a low growl, Qin Tianchen raised his hand and gathered his spiritual power and Daoist rhymes. A majestic surge of chilling qi instantly erupted. The entire ancient Daoist lake was instantly frozen, and everything within a 1,000-mile radius was turned into a world of ice and snow. Chilling winds howled across the land. Upon seeing that, Chu Kuangren's 4 symbols power surged in his palm and formed a 4 symbols sword shadow that slashed towards the palm chi. Under the extreme impact of the power, the frozen ancient path lake instantly exploded, and countless ice crystal fragments scattered like a storm. The ground around the Dao lake cracked open, and the entire mountain peak was shattered into several halves by the force of the collision. Those 2 monsters. A great land of opportunity was destroyed by the 2 of them just like that. It'll take at least a few thousand years for the ancient Dao lakes to recover. Too terrifying. The prodigy's expressions changed drastically as they frantically retreated. After the collision, when the dust settled, 2 figures could be seen standing on a piece of floating ice, facing each other from afar. One of them was holding a white sphere of light the size of a baby. This was none other than the primordial Dao essence that had been born from the ancient Dao lake. You are indeed extraordinary. Qin Tianchen glanced at the primordial Daoist essence in Chu Kuangren's hand and stared straight into his opponent's eyes with a serious look on his face. Although it was only one move, he had suffered a small loss just now. The primordial Daoist essence had fallen into Chu Kuangren's hands. You're just average, Chu Kuangren said calmly. With his eye of revelation activated, he had already seen through all of Qin Tianqian's information. It was just as the rumors said, he was indeed the reincarnation of a great emperor. Unfortunately, he did not see any possibility that his opponent could defeat him. Although Chu Kuangren was interested in him, however, he was only concerned about it and not too serious. Ever since I've awakened my past life's memories, no sky pride in this world has caught my attention. Even the likes of Jian Daozi and Wang Quan could not last more than 3 moves against me. I'm very curious to see how far you can go. Qin Tianqian stood with his hands behind his back. His aura continued to rise, and an overbearing Daoist rhyme continued to spread. He was the reincarnation of a great emperor, so his understanding of Dao had long surpassed those boundary emperors. It was only because of his realm and the influence of the heavenly Dao that he could not unleash his full potential. Even so, he was still far stronger than the forbidden sky prides. Anyone can talk big. Chu Kuangren placed the primordial Daoist essence into his yin and yang ring. Similarly, a surge of surging Daoist rhyme poured out from his body, fighting against Qin Tianqian's Daoist Dao. Oh, your Dao has reached such a level. Qin Tianqian was a little surprised. Then, he raised his hand and gathered his spiritual power. Within his spiritual power, a terrifying domineering aura could be vaguely sensed. He had also condensed a surge of Emperor's Qi. Grand Inferno Fist. Qin Tianqian unleashed a punch, and a domineering and scorching fist energy instantly melted the surrounding ice flows. The fist energy locked onto Chu Kuangren, making it impossible for him to escape. However, Chu Kuangren did not intend to evade it. He unsheathed his descendant self-sword and activated the heaven-slaying sword-drawing technique. The dazzling sword ray immediately tore through the fist energy and headed towards Qin Tianqian. What? Qin Tianqian's expression changed. He raised his hand and unleashed another punch. After the fist and sword collided, he was pushed back a few feet. His eyes were filled with seriousness. I can't believe someone among the sky prides of this generation has condensed an emperor's qi. There are many more that you can't imagine. Chu Kuangren's 3 Daoist physiques instantly erupted and merged into the divine ferocious avatar. With the heavenly punishment Daoist rhyme and emperor's qi, the avatar's domineering aura shook the heavens and the earth. Qin Tianqian was shocked when he saw the Dharma form. A Daoist physique fusion technique? And this heavenly punishment Daoist rhyme and emperor's qi? D***MN, I can't believe there's such a monster in this generation. Qin Tianqian was shocked. He initially thought that as the reincarnation of a great emperor, coupled with his various opportunities of fortune, he was already the most terrifying sky pride in this world. However, he did not expect there to be another Chu Kuangren. Moreover, just the fusion of his 3 supreme Daoist physiques was enough to overshadow 99% of the sky prides in this world. Not to mention the heavenly punishment Daoist rhyme and emperor's qi. That power was too terrifying. Reincarnation of a great emperor, do your best to survive. Chu Kuangren said calmly. The divine ferocious avatar behind him had already unleashed a punch, and its majestic power locked onto Qin Tianqian. Empyrean Gauntlet. A golden gauntlet suddenly appeared on Qin Tianqian's right hand, and an extremely mysterious Daoist rhyme circulated on it. He unleashed a punch that collided with the divine ferocious avatar's fist. The entire ancient Daoist lake exploded, and a torrent of water gushed into the sky. The terrifying power dissipated, and the surrounding sky prides who were already suffering from the spiritual power backlash could not dodge in time. Many of them died on the spot. Less than 10% of the thousands of sky prides were left. They had paid a huge price to fight against Chu Kuangren. However, it was almost useless. I can't believe I have to use my emperor weapon just to deal with a sky pride. Qin Tianqian gritted his teeth and said after blocking the divine ferocious avatar's punch. As the reincarnation of a great emperor, Qin Tianqian was extremely arrogant. There was not a single sky pride in this world that he would take seriously. However, in order to deal with Chu Kuangren, he had to give it his all. He had even used his rarely used emperor weapon. This person is the biggest obstacle on my path to becoming an emperor. I must not let him live. Qin Tianqian thought to himself. Murderous intent shot out from his eyes as he channeled his emperor's qi into the gauntlet in his hand. In an instant, a terrifying power erupted from the golden gauntlet. The surging Daoist rhyme on it almost materialized, and faint Daoist patterns could be seen. The emperor's qi was infused into the emperor weapon. This was much more terrifying than other cultivators who used their spiritual power to activate the emperor weapon. Chapter 603. Once the emperor's qi entered the emperor weapon, Qin Tianqian's aura instantly skyrocketed. He glared at Chu Kuangren coldly and said, Chu Kuangren, I know you have an emperor weapon with you too. Show it to me. You're not strong enough for me to use my emperor weapon, Chu Kuangren said calmly as the divine ferocious avatar behind him unleashed another punch. Arrogant. Qin Tianqian yelled and unleashed another punch. The emperor weapon's power was as vast as the ocean under the influence of the emperor's qi. With just one punch, the divine ferocious avatar was forced to take 2 steps back. Again, 9 heavenly attacks. Qin Tianqian activated his strongest emperor technique. It was an emperor technique that he created in his past life, and it was very compatible with his Tao. Coupled with the power of the emperor weapon and emperor's qi, the explosion of power was so terrifying that it felt like the entire realm was about to collapse. The first punch caused a violent gust of wind to howl. The divine ferocious avatar was forced to retreat again. The second punch caused the mountains and rivers to collapse. The third punch caused the weather to change. Qin Tianqian continued to unleash one punch after another, each stronger than the last. By the 7th punch, Chu Kuangren's divine ferocious avatar was already riddled with cracks. It looked like it would crumble at any time. The 8th punch caused the divine ferocious avatar's spiritual power Daoist rhyme to explode, and its terrifying power poured out. Qin Tianqian stood proudly. Chu Kuangren, you've lost. The surrounding skyprides could not help but feel excited when they saw that. The Qin family's skyprides especially could not help but look at Chu Kuangren passionately. Qin Tianqian has won. The reincarnation of a great emperor is indeed extraordinary. This is great. Finally, I've vented my anger. Chu Kuangren is not invincible after all. The skyprides had been defeated too badly by Chu Kuangren. The past few days had been too frustrating for them. Now that they saw Chu Kuangren being defeated, they could not help but feel exhilarated. It felt so good that their souls were about to fly. You didn't even hurt a single hair on me. What makes you think you've won? Chu Kuangren sneered. Oh, you're still trying to act tough? I'll make you admit defeat then. Qin Tianqian once again activated his emperor weapon, divine deity gloves. Then, he took a step forward and launched a punch towards Chu Kuangren's chest. At that moment, Chu Kuangren made his move. This time, he did not use his avatar or his sword. Instead, he threw a punch at Qin Tianqian. This scene caused everyone to be unable to help but feel shocked. The weapon in Qin Tianqian's hand was a monarch weapon. Coupled with his emperor's qi, its power was unimaginable. Even Chu Kuangren's Dharma idol could not block it, yet he was trying to block it with his fist. Did this guy have a death wish? Almost everyone thought that Chu Kuangren would be blasted away by that punch in the next second. His blood would splatter everywhere. As a matter of fact, when the two fists collided, a terrifying explosion sounded and one of them was indeed sent flying. However, that person was Qin Tianqian. Chu Kuangren was still in his punching stance, and there was an extremely terrifying aura circulating around his body. An extremely terrifying Daoist rhyme erupted from his body. This Daoist rhyme circled around his body and almost condensed into mysterious Daoist patterns. Come, let me show you my invincible technique. Chu Kuangren said indifferently. He took a step forward, and the Daoist rhyme on his body poured out in an even more violent manner, causing the entire Daoist lake to boil. What a mysterious aura. How is this possible? You have a mysterious technique on you. Qin Tianqian could not stay calm anymore. He was blasted to the shore by Chu Kuangren and looked at his opponent in shock. Mysterious. That was the ultimate emperor technique. It was a perfect demonstration of one's own Tao. Every type of mysterious was created by an emperor himself. It was a cultivation technique that belonged solely to the emperor, and it was impossible for it to be leaked to outsiders. In other words, Chu Kuangren's mysterious technique was a cultivation technique that he created based on his own Tao. It was a unique technique that belonged to him alone. So the mysterious aura that spread earlier was your doing. Qin Tianqian recalled the mysterious aura that he had sensed earlier. Mysterious, huh? Chu Kuangren murmured, so this cultivation technique that's even more powerful than emperor techniques is called mysterious. I get it now. He had always thought that his invincible technique was superior to most emperor techniques. It turned out that this technique was called mysterious. This mysterious technique of mine is still in its infancy. Today, I'll use you, the reincarnation of a great emperor, to test its power, Chu Kuangren said. 9 heavenly strikes. Qin Tianqian did not dare to be careless, so he attacked first. The 9 heavenly strikes were unleashed to the maximum. Fist after fist was unleashed, and by the 9th punch, the power of the previous 8 punches seemed to have stacked together. When the 9 punches merged into one, its power shook the entire realm. However, Chu Kuangren's expression did not change. He simply unleashed a punch. Invincible technique, Heaven's Vortex. A dense Daoist rhyme circulated around Chu Kuangren's fist, and it seemed to have turned into a giant vortex that could devour the heavens and earth. Qin Tianqian's emperor technique landed on that vortex, but it was easily disintegrated and neutralized. It could not hurt Chu Kuangren at all. Then, from that vortex, a terrifying and overbearing power gushed out and blasted Qin Tianqian away again. This time, it made him vomit blood. D****. Qin Tianqian took out a large bottle of medicinal pills and gulped them down. Then, the aura on his body began to skyrocket. 9 Polaris Dragons Devastation. Qin Tianqian roared and once again activated his emperor technique. When he unleashed a punch, 9 surges of spiritual power mixed with emperor's qi erupted and stacked together in the void, forming a giant golden dragon that danced in the air. Invincible technique, Universal Reversal. When Chu Kuangren lifted his arm, a terrifying surge of energy erupted. In the void, 2 colors alternated between black and white. It was a horrifying phenomenon where the sun and moon were inverted and the stars were falling. A terrifying energy that seemed to be able to destroy everything spread out, and the entire ancient Daoist lake was destroyed in an instant. The giant golden dragon that danced in the air was not even worth mentioning in the face of this technique. It turned into golden light spots and dissipated on the spot. Qin Tianqian, on the other hand, could not help but fly backward and spit out a mouthful of blood. Chu Kuangren's self-created invincible technique was divided into 2 styles. The Heaven's Vortex was an ultimate defense that could dissipate energy and deflect a portion of it. The Cosmos Reversal was an ultimate attack. It was a fusion of the many offensive techniques that Chu Kuangren had learned, and it pursued the ultimate destruction. That surge of energy seemed to be able to overturn the sun and moon and shatter the cosmos. The surrounding sky prides were shocked. What did they just see? Qin Tianqian, who was known as the reincarnation of an emperor, could not even fight back against Chu Kuangren. He was the most dazzling sky pride in the emperor's path. Yet, Chu Kuangren had easily defeated him. Run! Qin Tianqian, who was severely injured, did not hesitate to activate a secret technique. The emperor's qi in his body began to burn wildly, turning into an enormous surge of energy that filled his body. 9 Polaris Dragons Devastation. Qin Tianqian unleashed another punch. That was a power that he activated by burning his emperor's qi through a secret technique, so it was much more terrifying than before. However, Chu Kuangren calmly raised his hand again, and the Heaven's Vortex reappeared to deflect that surge of energy. During that process, Qin Tianqian had already taken out a great shift talisman and crushed it, instantly disappearing on the spot. The deflected punch missed its target and landed on a few stone pillars not far away. With a loud explosion, the stone pillars were reduced to countless pieces of rubble. Chapter 604. The reincarnation of an emperor sure is fast. Chu Kuangren sneered. The Daoist rime on his body gradually retracted as he glanced at the remaining sky prides. Less than 10% of the original 1,000 sky prides were left. If you want to live, leave your yin and yang ring behind. Otherwise, you'll die. The word die was like a gust of cold wind that swept across. All the sky prides could not help but shiver. They knew that Chu Kuangren was not joking with them. If they did not hand over their resources in exchange for their lives, they would really die. Chu Kuangren, this emperor weapon is yours. Bai Hongyu dropped the emperor weapon in her hand. That was the Scarlet Dragon Phoenix Sword, the greatest opportunity of fortune that she had obtained in the barren forbidden area. However, she could only use it to exchange for her life now. The Scarlet Dragon Phoenix Sword was stabbed into the ground and trembled as if it was protesting. Didn't you say you would make me famous? Why didn't you keep your promise? Bitch! Bai Hongyu could not do anything about it. After dropping the emperor weapon, she turned into a stream of light and flew into the distance. The other sky prides gritted their teeth and handed over their resources as well. As for those who wanted to take advantage of the situation, they were all killed by Chu Kuangren. Soon, the remaining sky prides either tried to leave or tried to resist Chu Kuangren, but they were all killed by him. All that was left was a ground full of resources and treasures. Chu Kuangren called Murong Xian and the others over to clean up the battlefield. The few of them then happily went to pick up the treasures. At this point, no one in the barren forbidden area could compare to Chu Kuangren anymore. The great opportunities of fortune in the forbidden area had also been swept clean by Chu Kuangren. As for the core area of the forbidden area, there were still many seals that had not been broken, so the sky prides could not go in and explore. Chu Kuangren did not want to go in for the time being. He had already gained a lot from this trip. The ancient cave of treasures, the 8 remoteness dragon mountain, the ancient path lake, and the other great opportunities of fortune were enough to increase his strength. Now, the most important thing was to find a place to digest these opportunities of fortune. He led the group out of the forbidden area for the time being. After he left, the other sky prides continued to explore the forbidden area. Some of them were so excited that they almost jumped up in joy. Great, the devil has finally left. Ha, this is great. Now, there is no one to compete with us for the opportunity. I must make good use of this opportunity. Boo-hoo, even the heavens pity him. He's finally gone. All the prodigies were extremely excited as if they were celebrating the new year. But after a while, they felt depressed. Chu Kuangren may have left, but during his time here, he had taken away most of the opportunities of fortune in the forbidden barren area. There were too few fortuitous opportunities left. The sky prides were fighting for the treasures, but their gains were very little. Compared to Chu Kuangren's gains, their gains were almost negligible. At that thought, everyone could not help but grit their teeth at Chu Kuangren. Apart from the elites, the orthodoxies and forces behind those sky prides were just as eager to skin Chu Kuangren alive and eat him alive. This was especially true for the sword race, the demon race, and the dark god sect. One had to know that their forbidden prodigies were dead. The taboo was an important means for them to fight for the throne of this world. Now that the taboo was dead, they no longer had any talented geniuses to compete for the throne. This hatred was too great. Within the sword race, the swordsman clan leader's expression was extremely gloomy. He had already learned about what happened in the forbidden barren area. Jian Changfeng, I can't believe that the mystic sword guards would betray the swordsman. Daoist is dead. Below the swordsman clan leader, the elders of the swordsman clan dared not say a word. They were afraid that they would offend the swordsman. After a long while, the swordsman clan leader gradually calmed down. Did you find the Heavenly Pardon Order during your trip to the Forbidden Baron area? Yes, clan leader. A young man walked out. He took out a colorful token. It was the Heavenly Pardon Order that the Swordsman clan leader had been longing for. With this token, the Emperor of the Swordsman clan could be freed from the shackles of the Emperor's path. As long as the Emperor of the Swordsman clan appears, Chu Kuangren, you shall die. The Swordsman clan leader took the Heavenly Pardon Order with a cold gaze. He glanced at the young man before him and said, Jian Yunyang, the Swordsman clan leader has lost many talents. You're only second to Jian Daoist, the sky pride of the Mystic Sword Guards. Now that you've brought back the Heavenly Pardon Order, you shall be the new Daoist of the Swordsman clan. The resources of the Swordsman clan shall be yours. The Swordsman clan needed to nurture another sky pride as soon as possible. They did not want to give up on the fight for the throne just like that. Jian Yunyang immediately knelt on the ground. I shall not disappoint you. Jian Yunyang. In other words, an obscure light flashed across Jian Changfeng's eyes. He was not the one who obtained the Heavenly Pardon Order. Instead, it was given to him by Chu Kuangren. Chu Kuangren wanted Chu Kuangren to contribute to the Swordsman tribe so that the Swordsman tribe leader would value him. As for which emperor of the Swordsman clan would be released from the Heavenly Pardon Order, Chu Kuangren never cared about it. He was too powerful now. He was unrivaled among the sky prides of the Emperor's path. Even if an emperor were to come personally, he would not be much of a threat to him. Besides the Swordsman clan, the other orthodoxies had also found the Heavenly Pardon Order in the Forbidden Baron area. At that point, all the orthodoxies fell into a brief silence. However, everyone knew that the emperors who were hiding in the ancestral lands of the orthodoxies were about to make their appearance. Without any shackles, they would be the strongest combat power in the Emperor's path. Meanwhile, Chu Kuangren was in an unknown mountain range. He had set up layers of restrictions as he planned to go into closed-door meditation to refine his harvest. Besides him, Nangong Huang and the others also needed to go into closed-door meditation for some time. Meanwhile, Leng Ningyu and Red Moon had already returned to the Seven Emotions sect. In the mountain range, inside a cave that was filled with restrictions, a white-robed young man was sitting cross-legged in the cave. In front of him was a golden skeleton that emanated waves of Emperor's poise. That was the Emperor's body. However, the Emperor's body was incomplete as it was missing 5 finger bones. That was the Azure Sword Emperor's body. As for the finger bones, they had been absorbed and refined by Jian Daozi. The reason why Jian Daozi was able to ascend to the level of a top-tier boundary emperor was all because of those finger bones. The energy contained in this emperor's body is indeed massive. However, why do I feel like it's far inferior to this head? Chu Kuangren suddenly took out a woman's head. It was an emperor's head that he had obtained a long time ago. However, there was a sealing talisman on it. Besides that, Chu Kuangren also noticed that the Empress's head contained more energy than the entire Emperor's body. It seems like there are differences between emperors. The Empress is definitely much stronger than the Azure Xian Sword Emperor. Perhaps the Azure Sword Emperor has been dead for too long, and this Emperor's body has lost too much of its energy. Chu Kuangren murmured. He kept the Empress's head away. He still did not dare to remove the sealing talisman. The higher his cultivation level, the more he could sense how terrifying the energy contained in that head was. Let's refine the Azure Sword Emperor's body first. Chu Kuangren murmured. Chu Kuangren was many times stronger than Jian Daozi, so he refined the Sword Emperor's body much faster than Jian Daozi. With the help of the Universal Cauldron Physique, it took him less than 2 days to completely refine it. Meanwhile, the spiritual power within his body had increased to an unprecedented level. The amount of Emperor's essence in his spiritual mound had increased from 1 to 3. After the 3 Emperor's essences the size of a baby's thumb circulated a few times in his body, it actually strengthened his physical body a little. Next, it's time to refine this primeval Daoist essence. Chapter 605. The primordial Daoist essence could be said to be Chu Kuangren's biggest gain in the Forbidden Barren Land. Aside from strengthening his spiritual power, this lump of primordial Daoist essence was also a great help to his physical body and Daoist insights. After refining the Sword Emperor's body, he set his sights on the Dao source. He activated the Heaven and Earth Cauldron physique and instantly absorbed it into his body. The time required to refine the primordial Dao source was even longer than refining the Sword Emperor's body. It took him 3 to 4 days to completely refine it. This was also him. If it were anyone else, even a martial emperor, they wouldn't be able to do it without 3 or 4 years. After refining the primordial Daoist origin, Chu Kuangren's strength skyrocketed once again. The number of emperor's essences in his body increased from 3 to 6. Not only that, but with the help of the primeval Dao source, his comprehension of his own Dao was very close to the extreme level. His art of invincibility was also more complete, and he had completely entered the esoteric level. In terms of his physical body, he already had the body of a supreme saint. Under the nourishment of the 6th Emperor Qi and the primeval Dao source, he had grown a lot stronger. From the outside, it was hard to tell that he still had that slender appearance. His blood, bones, and even every single muscle fiber had been dyed with a faint layer of golden light, as if they were made of golden jade. There was even a faint emperor's aura within them. His body was already gradually transforming into an emperor body. Even if I don't use my cultivation, I can probably kill a peak quasi-emperor with just this body. Chu Kuangren muttered. If he added the 6 emperor's qi, the invincible technique, and the emperor's weapon, who could compete with him in the entire emperor's road? Chu Kuangren's eyes lit up. Becoming a martial emperor. His only goal now was to become an emperor. As for the others, he no longer cared about them. There are still some fortuitous encounters. I might as well refine them all together. Chu Kuangren took out some suitable supreme elixirs and other opportunities of fortune. After some refinement, there was another stream of emperor qi in his body. This trip to the desolate Forbidden Land was full of gains. 7 emperor energies. I heard that those below the emperor realm can only form 9 emperor energies at most. I have 7 now. I think even those emperor realm experts with deep foundations can't reach my level. With a satisfied smile, Chu Kuangren stood up and exited his meditation. Zhang Xian opened the seal and walked out of the cave. Under the big tree outside the cave, there was a beautiful figure standing gracefully. It was Lan Yu. Her eyes lit up when she saw Chu Kuangren coming out of his closed-door meditation. She quickly walked up to him and said, "Master, you've come out of your closed-door meditation so soon." She had thought that it would take at least a year and a half. Unexpectedly, it had only been a few days. It could only be said that Chu Kuangren, who possessed the universal cauldron physique and extraordinary level of understanding, could refine resources at a speed that was far beyond the imagination of ordinary people. "And, what about you? Aren't you also in seclusion?" Chu Kuangren asked curiously. "I received a message from the cult. The cult leader asked me to return. He said he had something important to do," Lan Yu answered honestly. "Oh." Chu Kuangren's eyes flashed. "What's so urgent about the divine radiant cult? I'm a little curious." "I don't know either." Initially, the young master was still in seclusion. "I was still hesitating on whether or not I should go back first," Lan Yu said. "Are you familiar with the completed light divine fire incantation?" "Yes, I've completely mastered it." At the mention of the light divine fire incantation, Lan Yu's eyes turned cold. She did not know why the divine radiant cult would give her an incomplete technique, but she trusted Chu Kuangren 100%. If he said there was something fishy, then there must be something fishy. "All right, then I'll follow you to the divine radiant cult." Chu Kuangren smiled. Then, his spiritual thoughts gushed out and left countless restrictions on the entire mountain range to ensure that the few of them would not be disturbed during their closed-door meditation. He also left a message for them. With their cultivation level, it'll take at least a year and a half to completely refine the harvest. We'll come back to them then. Let's go. Chu Kuangren smiled. Divine Radiant Cult. The leader of the Divine Radiant Cult was in the study room with a jade scroll in his hand. It contained some news from various places, including which orthodoxy sky prides had fallen, which emperors were acting strangely, and so on. Interesting, the old guys in the dark sect seemed to be making a move. I heard that one of the emperors had left the Divine Radiant Cult's encampment yesterday. No one knows where he went. The leader of the Divine Radiant Cult smiled. He was a middle-aged man with a rather elegant appearance. He wore a pure white robe that was clean and tidy from top to bottom. I'm afraid those guys are heartbroken this time. Their bachelor sage has been killed by Chu Kuangren, so they've lost the right to compete for the throne. An old man beside the leader laughed. Chu Kuangren, at the mention of that name, the leader's eyelids twitched. We must pay attention to this person. Third Elder, you've met him in the barren forbidden area. Is he really as powerful as the rumors say? Upon hearing that, the Third Elder's expression gradually turned serious. If possible, I hope that I'll never have to go against him. Is that so? Then we'll have to make some preparations. The leader of the Divine Radiant Cult said meaningfully. The Third Elder's expression changed slightly. Are we going to do that? Yes, it's about time. I've already asked the Bachelor Sage to prepare and also send a message to the Maiden Sage, asking her to return. Let's hope that everything goes smoothly. The Third Elder also knew that it was imperative to do that. If it were in the past, he would be happy to see it happen, but ever since he returned from the barren forbidden area, he had always felt a little uneasy. It seemed like Lan Yu had quite a close relationship with Chu Kuangren. At that moment, a wind chime in the study suddenly rang. The leader of the Divine Radiant Cult channeled a surge of spiritual power into the wind chime. What's the matter? Leader, the Maiden Sage has returned, and she's brought someone with her. A voice came from the wind chime. Oh, she's back. Who did she bring back? Chu Kuangren. The leader and the Third Elder fell silent at the same time. After a while, the leader of the Divine Radiant Cult said, I understand. The wind chime calmed down. However, the leader of the Divine Radiant Cult and the Third Elder were not calm. It seems like things have changed earlier than planned. Chu Kuangren, it's fine. Let me meet this legendary Sky Pride. The leader of the Divine Radiant Cult said calmly. He took out a crown and put it on. With the scepter in hand, he walked out of the study. Inside the Divine Radiant Cult's temple, a group of Divine Radiant Cult members were curiously sizing up a white-robed cultivator in the temple. That person stood in front of the Divine Radiant statue with an extraordinary aura. He looked more like a deity than the white jade statue. That thought shocked the Divine Radiant Cult members, and they quickly chanted the Divine Radiant Cult several times in their hearts. Greetings, leader. Greetings, leader. The leader of the Divine Radiant Cult arrived at the temple, and Chu Kuangren looked over as well. The leader of the Divine Radiant Cult was stunned when he saw Chu Kuangren. At first glance, he felt that Chu Kuangren was extraordinary. That kind of celestial beauty and extraordinary aura was unparalleled in this world. When he looked at Chu Kuangren a second time, his eyes were filled with seriousness. He could not sense the slightest fluctuation of Chu Kuangren's cultivation base. Unfathomable. That was the feeling that Chu Kuangren gave the leader of the Divine Radiant Cult. Chapter 606. The Holy Light Leader was observing Chu Kuangren. Meanwhile, Chu Kuangren was also observing him with his eye of revelation. He roughly read through his information. His spiritual power cultivation level was that of a top-notch boundary emperor, but his understanding of Dao had reached the perfected realm. He was already considered an emperor. Greetings, my friend. My name is Chu Kuangren. Chu Kuangren chuckled. By addressing Chu Kuangren as a Daoist, Chu Kuangren had clearly placed himself on the same level as Chu Kuangren. The crowd frowned but did not say anything. Chu Kuangren was indeed qualified to do so. Brother Chu, your presence brings light to the Holy Light sect. The Holy Light sect's leader smiled. Not at all. It's just that my Lan Yu has received a lot of care from the Holy Light sect, so I'm here to visit. Heh, Lan Yu is the Holy Light sect's maiden sage. The two of them chatted for a while in the temple. Leader, may I know why you've summoned me back? Well, an emperor from the Holy Light sect woke up 2 days ago and wants to see you, the Holy Light sect's leader said. I see. Lan Yu nodded. The Holy Light sect's leader seemed to have a good chat with Chu Kuangren. He even prepared a banquet to entertain Chu Kuangren. At the banquet, the Holy Light sect's elders and sky prides were secretly observing Chu Kuangren with curiosity in their eyes. Bachelor sage, is this person really as terrifying as the rumors say? One of the sky prides asked Bai Tianxing curiously. Bai Tianxing nodded with a complicated expression. This person's strength is almost invincible among the younger generation of the Emperor's path. Those words shocked the other sky prides who had never been to the barren forbidden area. They could not help but gasp. Almost invincible? That comment was too unbelievable. Moreover, it came from the mouth of a taboo sky pride like Bai Tianxing. Bai Tianxing looked at Chu Kuangren and the Wei Lan Yu sat beside him and poured more wine for him. He felt a fire burning in his heart. Deep down, he admired Lan Yu. Whether it was her holy radiant physique or her holy and heroic looks, they were all things that he desired. To him, she was a high and mighty goddess. Yet now, the goddess that he admired was behaving so obediently in front of another man. How could he tolerate that? Especially when she only behaved this way in front of that man. Hold on, you must hold on. Soon, all of this will be yours. Bai Tianxing suppressed the jealousy in his heart and did not show it. Soon, the banquet ended. The next day, Chu Kuangren got up to wash up and did a lucky draw. Congratulations to the host for drawing the Book of Physique. Chu Kuangren, who was washing up, was stunned. What reward? A transcendent reward? F***ck me. The last time he received a supreme god-level reward was a few years ago. At that time, he was not even a venerable one. That was his first super god-level reward. The lucky halo had given him extraordinary luck and increased his chances of drawing something good by a lot. Now, this was his second super god-level reward. Chu Kuangren could feel his breathing getting heavier. What opportunity in the desolate forbidden land! What emperor, in front of this transcendent reward, everything else had to stand aside. Open the inventory. Chu Kuangren opened his inventory. It was filled with all the prizes that he had won in the past few years. He set his eyes on the last prize. Book of Physique, Supreme God Level. By studying this book, one can derive thousands of physiques in the world and use them for one's own use. There was not much to the introduction, only one sentence. However, the information contained in that sentence made Chu Kuangren fall into deep thought. Derive thousands of physiques in the world and use them for one's own use? That was a very powerful ability. However, as far as Chu Kuangren knew, among the 3,000 Daoist physiques in Firmament Star, even the most powerful Chaos physique was only slightly stronger than the heavenly Golden Imperial physique. It might not even be comparable to his immortal body or universal cauldron physique. Even if he derived all 3,000 of these physiques, they would not be as useful as his immortal body. So why was this book of physique ranked as a supreme god level? There was only one answer. That was a physique that was even more powerful than the 3,000 Daoist physiques. Just like his immortal body and universal cauldron physique, there were definitely many other mysterious physiques in this world. This book of physique could derive and use them, which was why it was ranked as a supreme god level. A physique that is above the 3,000 Daoist physiques? One day, I'll have to visit the vast universe outside Firmament Star. Chu Kuangren murmured. Then, he took out the book of physique. A golden ray of light shot out from the inventory, entered his body, and reached the depths of his consciousness. Chu Kuangren's consciousness followed the book of physique to the depths of his mysterious consciousness, which was also the rumored origin of his soul. The origin of the soul was the origin of one's consciousness. Every living being had an origin of their soul, but not everyone could find it. Only cultivators who were involved in soul cultivation techniques could find it. Now, Chu Kuangren's consciousness had found the origin of his soul under the guidance of the Book of Physique. It was a gray mass of air of unknown size. It was as small as a speck of dust, but it was also as vast as the universe. Upon closer inspection, this mass of air was made up of 3 streaks of gray air. Chu Kuangren seemed to have understood something. That was the sum of his soul energy. 3 streaks of gray air. Chu Kuangren then looked at the Book of Physique. It was an ancient golden book that emitted a faint golden light and a series of mysterious patterns that crisscrossed each other. Those patterns seemed to be even more mysterious than Daoist patterns. That was a realm that Chu Kuangren had yet to touch. The golden Book of Physique was inside the origin of his soul. The originally gray and gray origin of his soul suddenly lit up. Chu Kuangren moved his mind and the Book of Physique flipped to the first page, which recorded the Daoist physiques that Chu Kuangren currently possessed. Immortal body, universal cauldron physique, exquisite 9 orifices sword heart, transcendent coalescence Daoist physique, infallible tormented physique, golden jade body. Looking at the golden jade body, Chu Kuangren almost forgot that he had acquired this physique in the past. The golden jade body was also a top-notch Daoist physique. However, to Chu Kuangren, who had several supreme Daoist physiques and 2 godly physiques, this top-notch Daoist physique was too insignificant. Chu Kuangren focused his mind on the immortal body. The Book of Physique flipped again and flipped to the next page that recorded the immortal body. The immortal body was divided into 6 levels. The host is currently at the 4th level, blood rebirth. There were 3 ways to improve it. 1. Increase one's cultivation level. 2. Refine 10 types of immortal Daoist supreme pills. 3. Chu Kuangren was studying the Book of Physique at the origin of his soul. When he came back to his senses, it was already late in the morning. He licked his lips. What a good Book of Physique. It's so mysterious. It's so useful to me. After studying it for a while, he realized that there were 2 main uses for this Book of Physique at this stage. The first was to derive his own physique and reach a state where he could use it perfectly. The second was to derive other people's physiques and use them for his own. As for the other uses, they had yet to be developed. Chu Kuangren could only use the first one for now. As for the second one, it was mainly because he did not have the materials to derive it. You're tuning in to the Carefree Valley YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.